This is the Jeff Oravits Show. Be part of the program by calling 877-971-3971.
All right, welcome back. Hour 2 of the show. Jeff Oravits here with former Flagstaff Mayor Jerry Neighbors, plus Olivia's with us for a little bit. Election day. I'm just waiting. I'm just like in a kind of a standby position. I think we're going to get some results here at 5 right now, just like trickling in.
From the East Coast?
East Coast, but it's very little stuff coming in. 6 o'clock, we'll see more because those polls will then have been closed for like 2 hours. 7 o'clock, I think we'll see a whole bunch, and we'll continue on. So if you're just joining us, if you missed last hour, we're going to continue on here about 5:40. We'll flip on the video. We'll open up the phone lines. We can take a couple calls, I guess, Jerry, Olivia, if you ready for that?
Sure.
She's like, I didn't tell her that until now. So we'll open up the Just Wireless listener line.
Now, remember, Jeff, at like 5 minutes after 8.
Yes.
Here, local time, Arizona.
Yeah. They
will release the count on the mail-in ballots. Yep. So we'll have some local and statewide results just a hair after 8 o'clock.
We're going to be busy, and that's why I have Mark Howitt. You'll be gone because you're actually going. Tell listeners what you're doing.
The integrity of the election in northern Arizona rests on my shoulders here, Jeff, because I have been asked to be an election count, a ballot count observer.
Okay.
So there is a building, big room, where the Coconino County election headquarters counting facility is located. That's where the tabulating machines are located. The ballots come in there. They come in sealed, allegedly, supposedly. The seal gets inspected.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Is that something you're supposed to be looking for as an election observer?
That's a different observer.
Okay.
In a little on the other side of the building that I'm in. But we have observers over there. They're supposed to check the seals, make sure they're all nice and accounted for. Then that box of ballots is moved over to my side of the building, and we have a big room with a big glass wall the whole length of the room, so we can see all of the counting area. And the ballots, the box of ballots comes in and gets put on a table, and they break the seal and take the ballots out and check them in and check the paperwork, and then put them in counting machines, which look like big photocopy machines.
Okay. Did they used to have those counting machines at the polling places? Were they still, I mean, because when you go to vote at the polling place, you slip it in and it sucks it in.
Yep.
Isn't that a counting machine, or is that?
It is, and they used to do it that way, but they thought this was a little more accurate and reliable. And of course, that's what's happening in Maricopa County. They have those machines down in Maricopa County. And as you've been hearing all day, a lot of them, 20% of them, are failing. And so instead of putting your ballot in and it gets sucked in and then it gets thrown out the back. And
is that what's happening?
Well, they gets thrown out another door, as they say. And
how did
a good question, Jerry? Whether did it get counted before it got thrown out, or is it just thrown out and now they're going to count it again?
And okay, how do you know down there if you put in the ballot, it sucks it in, it shoots it out, and then you get through a bunch and there were some errors they find out, the ballots are not there's no name on the ballot, Jerry. Once it's separated from that envelope, or if you're going to vote in person.
Yeah, these are all real ballots.
There's no barcode on there that identifies this as Jerry Neighbors' ballot. Why don't we do that? Why don't we have a system where you can track your ballot from the moment you have it, whether it's mail-in or you go to the polling place, and then it shows up, here's how you vote. Oh, yeah, that's my ballot, number 11187421 or whatever.
My guess is that would be too much able to be tracked, and therefore you don't have a secret ballot. Someone could get that information and know how Jeff Oravits voted.
Okay, and the alternative is it's shooting out and not counting it, 20% problem. I don't, again, I'm going by what you said. I have not researched this at all, but that doesn't make any of us that have said we've got election problems and we had machine problems and there's all these issues, and then all of a sudden there's all these issues. How did they let this happen, Jerry? How does this happen on election day? How was this not tested?
That's the baffling part, Jeff. And, of course, we were assured by Maricopa County over and over again, this is going to be the best election ever. We've checked everything, we've double checked. And then here, 20%. I can see if one machine.
Yeah, okay, we have a problem. I get it. Machinery.
200 is just hundreds of machines.
Yeah. No, and how many ballots? What does that mean? Maricopa County's 5.5 million people. I don't know how many people are going to vote in Arizona? Million something? I don't even know what the numbers are.
I think more than that.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, how many people are we talking? Are we talking tens of thousands of potential ballots? Hundreds of thousands?
Did they end up counting them again?
Well, we don't know.
We don't know.
Supposedly, they didn't get counted, and now they're going to take them downtown to the headquarters, like the place I observed, and they're going to count them down there. But it just raises more questions about, well, wait a minute, and what precinct are they?
Yeah, where are they?
Is it a heavily Democratic precinct and it might get counted twice, or is it a heavily Republican precinct?
Is it shooting it in? And this is bad. I'm looking at AZ Central right now, the Republic election updates. Maricopa County Recorder apologizes for issues. Okay, great. This is like that girl who did the op-ed from Brown, wherever she was from, with the COVID amnesty. You hear about that one? She's saying everybody who was COVID crazy with the lockdowns and all that should get amnesty. And I'm like, why? Okay, I accept your apology. Now you shouldn't be in a job anymore. You crashed the plane, Jerry. You shouldn't be allowed to do this job anymore. It's ridiculous. These people keep screwing things up. And then they're like, we should just forget about that. Just look the other way. And then they run for, isn't that Fontes guy? The former Maricopa guy that got booted out because of election problems?
County recorder. Yeah.
What's he doing now today? Running for Secretary of State, which oversees Arizona's elections.
And this
you can't make this
Hobbs up. Is Secretary of State right now overseeing this, and she's running for governor.
And she's overseeing the election while running for governor. This is great. This is they wonder why we. I have a healthy or maybe unhealthy faith and trust in our officials at this point, Jerry. And I think a lot of people out there have no more faith in that system, and they're not helping the situation here.
You can't help, no matter how much of a believer you are in the officials. You have to keep looking at these things going, what's going on?
Yeah, really? This happened? Are you kidding me? Anyway, we'd love your thoughts. Send an email, talkwithjeff@icloud.com. We'll open up the phone lines here about 5:40 or so. Be patient with us. Just wireless listener line. Give out that number.
877-971-3971.
You've got questions for me, but hang on just 1 second. Interest rates have been rising. You all know that. It's a tough market out there, but I was talking to someone earlier today, Jerry, and we were like, well, interest rates are 7%. And they're like, or what used to be normal. This was pretty, 6-7% was kind of normal. We got spoiled with artificial interest rates.
My very first house, 6%.
Yeah, and some people in the 80s were 16%. Crazy amount of money. I don't know where interest rates are going, but you need someone who's local, who understands the market, who can help you out. Someone like Kim Dawson, that's who I turned to from Nova Home Loans. She did a refinance for me on an investment property. If you're looking at doing an investment property, you're looking to refinance, you're looking to purchase a new home, even off-grid properties. Kim Dawson at Nova Home Loans, she can help you out. She's a local girl, but she's backed by Arizona's largest privately owned mortgage lender. Give Kim Dawson over at Nova Home Loans a call, just like I did, 928-310-6458. That's 928-310-6458. Kim Dawson, NMLS 697411. Nova Home Loans, NMLS 3087, BK number 090242. Equal housing opportunities, subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions may apply. Fire away, Jerry. I think you had a question I cut you off with last hour.
Well, you had on yesterday George Califf, who's a pollster from Phoenix.
Yep, Data Orbital.
And he had a lot of good numbers and data. It's very interesting. One thing he didn't talk about, and it didn't come up, and I would like to ask your opinion on it, and that is the Arizona Senate race. You have Mark Kelly and Blake Masters, Republican or Democrat and Republican, and Blake Masters, all for months now, has run a few points behind Mark Kelly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, consistently.
But they rarely talked about the third party, the Libertarian candidate in that race. And he usually polled as much as the difference between Kelly and Masters. If Masters was down by 5 points behind Kelly, Here, Mark Victor, the Libertarian, he was polling 7 points.
Yep.
So, you know, if you looked at that, you always had to think, well, if the Libertarian wasn't in there, wouldn't most of the Libertarians' votes go to the Republican?
This has been an argument that's been going on for years.
Yeah.
It's come up in congressional races where people lost by razor-thin margins. Now, I've had libertarians on the show, and I'm a libertarian at heart, and I believe in so many of those principles, Jerry. But I've had actual, with the Libertarian Party folks on the show who are registered libertarians say, well, I deserve to have my person on there, and this is the person that fits those beliefs and those principles, et cetera, et cetera. So why doesn't your candidate drop out, kind of thing, like that? Now, I will give Mark Victor credit because about a week ago, 10 days ago, he dropped out and he actually endorsed Blake Masters. Now, the question is,
too little, too late.
Too little, too late. Yeah. I mean, and Mark Victor was at one point, I saw a poll, and who knows if you can trust these polls. The biggest poll is going to be tonight or next week. We'll see how long this all takes. They got the repairman coming for the tabulating machines once they get that figured out and sorted out. But Mark Victor dropped out. At one point, I saw him polling as high as 12% of the vote. I think that was an anomaly. I saw him consistently around 5-6%. Then it dipped down to around 3 or 4. I guess my question is, in the 2 to 3 weeks that the early ballots were out, how many people already voted for Mark Victor? And how will that affect Blake Masters' race when this may be separated by hundreds of votes?
Yes, and how many people went to the polling place today and didn't know that he dropped out, and they saw the L and they go, well, I don't like the Democrat or the Republican, I'll vote for that L.
I'm still going to vote for it because they didn't even know. How many people even know Mark Victor, bailed out?
So that's something to watch tonight, I think, Jeff. And
does he lose
the next couple of days?
If he lost by a short amount.
What's the margin between Kelly and Masters, and how many votes did Mark Victor get?
No, I agree. And I do, Blake Masters, as I've gotten to know him, he was on the program many, many times, Jerry. He does have, we'll see when he gets in office. I always say 50% chance that these people are what they say when they get in there and they have the spine to actually do it. I think he will. He has very libertarian minded leanings when it comes to the Federal Reserve, the economy, and foreign entanglements, all of that. So I have some high hopes for Blake, and he's I think he's 35, 36. Something like that. Yeah. So he could do a very good job for the conservative and libertarian movement, but is it too little too late going up against the deep pockets of Mark Kelly? Do you have a prediction on that one?
Jeff, I am afraid Mark Kelly's going to squeak it out.
You think it's going to be close? Yeah. Gosh, Olivia, any guess? This is just a guess, folks.
I don't really know, honestly.
I think it is on Blake Masters' side the past 2 weeks. The momentum has been huge, and the polls have been within the margin of error. I think I'm going to take the opposite side of you, Jerry. I think Blake Masters wins this, but super thin.
Squeaky, huh?
This could go either way. If you're out there right now, you've got just under 2 hours now, hour and 45 minutes or so to actually go out and vote. The polls close. We had the Coconino County Elections Director on yesterday. Polls close at 7. If you're in line, though, if there is a line, is there any more lines? I guess maybe down in Maricopa, but up here, typically not. You could still vote. And if you haven't voted, it's on you, because I think some of these are going to be super, super close. Any other predictions, or you had another question for me?
Well, you know what, Jeff, I'll like to go right down that list and make predictions.
Let's do it.
First, we have Olivia, your daughter, here in the studio.
Hi.
And I think it was maybe a month ago or less when on your show you reported how Olivia got in trouble at the grocery store for feeling peaches.
Yes, Peach Lady. I'm still very mad at Peach Lady.
Peach Lady.
And I just want an update. And Olivia, have you now refrained from feeling peaches and other fruits and vegetables?
Nah, I'm like now more than ever. I'm like, I'm going to put my hands on that. No, just kidding. I actually have not gotten peaches, which is very sad, but it's like getting winter, so there's not as many good peaches.
Yeah, peach season's out.
But no, Peach Lady is not making me refrain from touching peaches because that's something that everybody does.
What happened?
I was in the grocery store a few days ago, and I'm feeling a peach, and I'm going, oh my goodness.
Uh-oh, not the cooties.
I'm going to jail with Olivia.
Peach jail.
Criminals.
You're going to go to can. Peaches come from a can. They were put there by man. Remember that song? That was a song
Yeah,
in the
I
90s.
guess I'll just have to get canned peaches.
No,
from
this
now.
woman flipped. This was the COVID hysterics that's still going on. This lady, what did she do? You were like feeling to see if they're ripe.
I'm doing what literally everybody does. We're gonna make like peach cobbler. Feeling the peaches to see which ones are soft because obviously you don't want like a hard peach. You bite down, ooh, a rock in my pie.
Yeah.
But yeah, this like rude lady comes up behind me and she's like, "Are you gonna touch all the peaches there? Because to the rest of us, that's kind of rude
Because of COVID.
and kind of unacceptable."
Yeah, nowadays with COVID, because we still believe #science. If you touch something, you can transmit it. Remember, people were cleaning everything that was coming from the store.
And I was just like,
you know,
lady, if you want to eat hard peaches, that's on you. But
all right, get out of here. I know you've got
that's why
stuff.
you wash them.
I know you've got stuff to prepare. Our guests are going to get some chicken tacos coming up and all that. Jerry, I know you want to get up there in a little bit, but we've got
Wow.
some more stuff to
That's if
cover
I
here.
don't go eat them first.
Yeah, don't eat all the tacos. Okay, we're here with Jerry Neighbors. We've got Mark Howitt coming and Bob Thorpe and Rob Wilson as well. And we're going to continue into the evening. So at 5:40-ish, we'll switch over. We'll fire up video, Jerry, and at talkwithjeff.com. I should have the link there. This is all multiple parts and technology and this and that, so be patient. And then what we're going to do is, as I think 6 o'clock, Jerry, we'll have results coming in from back east. Then 7 o'clock, a lot of results. 8 o'clock, we're going to have Arizona results, and we'll keep on going until about 9 o'clock. Jerry and I are going to go over these kind of predictions now, but just to lay out kind of where we at for the evening. Okay, so U.S. Senate, you're saying Mark Kelly by a hair. I'm saying Blake Masters by a hair.
Governor Kerry Lake.
I think Kerry's going to win it by 3. And there's interviews I've done and stuff, I've been telling people out of state 3 to 5 points. Katie Hobbs she's a bad candidate and she would be bad for this position. Secretary of State.
Well, I think Mark Fincham, the Republican, will defeat Adrian Fontes. I think that's going to be strictly a Republican versus Democrat battle. And I think Arizona still has a Republican edge number-wise.
We'll see. That's the big thing tonight too. Are we that more conservative leaning state, or have we turned mushy or even more purple?
Adrian Fontes has some bad luggage because he was the Maricopa County recorder last time, and he got beat because he had botched up the Maricopa County elections during his time.
And now his buddy's botching it up.
Yeah, he's got some baggage. Mark Fincham, some people don't like the fact that he was a hardcore protester type of the last election.
Mark Fincham, I go with you. Mark Fincham will win this as well because the Democrats once again put up a really bad failed candidate. Attorney General?
Boy, that's going to be a close one.
You think so?
I think Chris Mays may pull that off.
I am surprised at how low key the Senate race, the Mark Kelly, Blake Masters, Katie Hobbs, Kerry Lake race, and to a degree, Mark Fincham has gotten a lot of national attention. Those 3 races, and especially the top 2, have sucked all the oomph out of all the other races. You don't hear anything. Yep. I've had Abe Hamaday on quite a few times. Mm-hmm. Another impressive guy, younger guy, someone who also served.
I liked him a lot.
Yeah, and I think actually Abe Hamaday will win this by like Kerry Lake margins, 3+ points. Is what I'm thinking. Treasurer Martin Casada versus Kimberly Yee.
Oh, Kimberly Yee.
She's going to win by 10 points.
2 to 1.
Yeah, she's going to win by quite a bit. Tom, Superintendent, Public Instruction, important race. Tom Horn versus Kathy Hoffman, the incumbent Democrat.
Tom Horn, I think, appeals to a lot of people, and he has good name recognition. I don't think most people remember he had some baggage too when he was Attorney General. I think
he was Attorney General
and,
8 years
all
ago.
Kinds of slandering
parking
kind of
garage
things.
issue.
It was terrible. But I don't know that people remember that.
Nope.
I think he's he's done a pretty good campaign. I see his signs when I'm down in the Phoenix area. I see a lot of his signs. I see nothing for Kathy Hoffman.
Yeah, I think Tom Horn will win this. He wasn't my choice in the primary, but he's definitely my choice in the general election because Kathy Hoffman, I mentioned this in the 4 o'clock hour when I was talking about the Flagstaff Unified School District election. Kathy Hoffman would fit right in with that group up here when it comes to diversity, equity, inclusion, critical race theory, transgenders in the bathroom and in the locker room and on the sports teams, things like that, and all that craziness. So Tom Horn should do it. I just hope he isn't a disaster. Okay, big one though, for mine inspector, Paul Marsh or
nobody.
Nobody. I think Paul Marsh is going to get close to 100% of the votes.
You've got that next line.
We got to fix that. There's actually 4 Corporation Commission candidates. Sandra Kennedy, the Democrat, Lauren Kuby, the Democrat, Nick Myers, the Republican, Kevin Thompson, the Republican, vote for 2 for a 4-year term.
Myers and Thompson, I'm pretty sure will.
I think they're going to clean it up. They've run a good, long campaign. Although I hear Sandra Kennedy ads running from time to time in various places, and it is total unicorns. She's going to save the world. We're going to all be floating on clouds and doing the green energy thing. I think she's going to lose. I would put this in Nick Myers, Kevin Thompson, and a Corporation Commission that is majority Republican held. All right, let's go down the list some more when we come back. And if you got comments, we'd love to hear from you. Talk with Jeff at iCloud.com. Don't go anywhere. We're going to come back with Jerry for another segment here, go over some more predictions. And then we've got Mark Howitt coming in, Rob Wilson coming in, and Bob Thorpe coming in. We're going to start analyzing, especially as we get into the 6 o'clock hour. We're going to stay on air and keep on going. Plus, we'll be streaming at talkwithjeff.com, both video and audio. And we'll keep doing that into the evening and analyzing election results as they come in. Hang tight. Back in a minute.
This is the Jeff Oravits Show. This is the Jeff Oravits Show.
Jerry Neighbors is here with me, going over some of our picks for the election as we wait for results, and that's all we can do at this point. It's in the voters' hands, so I hope more than half the country is sane, Jerry.
Jeff, I have a question for you real quick.
Yeah.
What is your favorite election? The one for governor or the one for president?
That's a good question. I mean, the presidency, the buzz and the feeling and that one just always seems so much more intense, but this one's pretty dang close when you're talking. I guess it just depends. We're in such a unique situation where we have the chance to put a block up to crazy Biden policies. So for me, this is huge. But can you imagine 24? Can you imagine? Because we're going to be, third of the Senate will be up again, right?
Yep, sure.
And then all the House seats again. We'll be going through all that again, but then throw in, and as you saw, former President Trump was talking about announcing yesterday at that rally, and it looks like he's going to announce next week that he is running for president. Not a big secret here, but even the battle that's about to probably happen in the Republican side of things, we'll see what happens with DeSantis and Trump and all the people that want to get in, and then all the kind of political backstabbing that people are going to do on Biden to be the Democrat that usurps him and be the nominee.
And so, Jeff, you have just touched on an important point. We think that after today, the election and politics will be over for a little while.
Yeah, no.
It won't be over, Jeff.
No.
It's going to just start right up.
No, because Trump's going to announce next week, supposedly, and they're going to, they still have the power until January, until the new Congress is, right? They're lame duck, but they'll still be going on with you got Liz Cheney and the gang, they'll still be going on with the January 6th crap, right? And they'll continue on. So once Trump announces, it'll be like, oh, we're really going to ratchet that up because now what do we got to lose? But they don't get it. They don't get that the country's mad because you messed with mom's kids. Quite frankly, the moms of America are pissed off right now that you want, in a lot of places, you've seen these transgender striptease shows going on with, elementary school kids and all this. And people are looking at in America now that it's like, really? I mean, they've gone too far. Jerry, I think we're going to see this later on tonight and tomorrow that over half the country is finally like, you went too far. I hope. If not,
Well, no matter what happens today,
Jeez.
it's going to start tomorrow.
Yeah, the next campaign begins. Well, they got to fix the ballot machines down in Maricopa County first, tabulating machines. Recently, I wanted to get new blinds because my wife was like, these things are I think they were from the 90s, Jerry. They were looking a little rough, and they might have had a floral print on there. I don't know. Do you have a floral print on yours? No. If you did, okay, I shouldn't say that because if you call the Blind Brothers, there may be a floral print that you actually like. They still do that. So let's rewind on that. But for me, it wasn't it. I went through the Blind Brothers catalog and all the options they have, and they got me set up with some great those wooden shades or shutters, I guess they're called. Look excellent. And Northern Arizona company, these guys will come out, they measure. It's not some subcontractor, and that's what they did for me. Helped us pick out a great set of blinds, and then they got it ordered. Great price, and then they came and assembled it all or installed it all. And I highly recommend you get them to install it. But as a matter of fact, if you mention a Jeff Oravits show, you can get half off on installation, which again, highly recommend that if you're not used to putting in blinds. Call the Blind Brothers. They'll help you out, and they'll get you great blinds, shutters, and shades. 928-634-2423. That's 928-634-2423, or you can go to theblindbrothers.com. Want to hit on a few more before we have to switch gears and start looking at results coming in. I can't take that off the screen for you, Jerry. What do you think about the City of Flagstaff mayor race?
Paul Deasy is the incumbent mayor.
Yes.
He's served 1 2-year term.
Yes.
Jeff, I don't think in the last 50 years, incumbent mayor has lost after 1 term. Every mayor who has chosen to run for a second term has been elected to a second term. Sarah Pressler now was challenged by, Joe, it's on the tip of my tongue. He was a council member.
Joe Howie.
Joe Howie.
Yeah.
She was challenged after her first term, and she just barely got reelected.
Yeah.
So that would be quite an upset if Paul Deasy got defeated. And I don't like the way Becky Daggett has done her campaign with this obviously structured letters to the editor.
Is it that
everybody
apparent?
takes a turn writing a letter to the editor. And I noticed Paul Deasy hasn't done that, and I kind of take my hat off to him for that. So I would hope Paul Deasy would get reelected, but I've got my concerns that Becky Daggett will probably get this.
I've had Paul D. Look, they're both on the left, but that's Flagstaff at this point. I go by Paul Deasy has spent a lot of time coming on this show for the past couple of years and was always coming on to update. We would openly disagree on some things.
And
which
he's
is
been
fine.
open. He's been
open, but he's always been available. I kind of go with what you're saying. There's never been an incumbent that we know of that has lost in that first term. It'll be interesting because they're both Democrats. They're both going to have a certain amount of Democrat support, although Becky probably has heavier Democrat support. But I do hear word that's gotten out for a lot of Republicans that's saying which one is going to cause the least amount of carnage here. Yep. And I've heard from a lot of Republicans, and I voted for Deasy. It's not an endorsement of all his policies by any means. But like I said, he's always come on this show, and Daggett came on one time during the primary, and that was it, never reached out again. I think Deasy might actually have a slight edge, but we're talking slight, and I could have this one totally wrong, just because I think some Republicans are coming over that, not that there's a lot in Flagstaff, but it's a sizable chunk still. I mean, how many Republicans are in Flagstaff? 3, 4? There's at least 3 or 4. So you say Daggett, I say Deasy. Are we writing this down? I should have been writing this down because, you know.
We'll record it.
We'll record it and we can go back, but are we really going to listen to it? We'll remind you folks. Remind us if I change to Daggett tomorrow. If she wins, I have the right to change it up till tomorrow.
Go to Legislative District 7.
You know, we only got a minute, so let's do this. I want to remind everybody before we go here because this is kind of. We're going to take a break here, but we're coming back, and this is unusual for a lot of folks, Jerry, because usually that's it.
This is the Jeff Oravits Show.
Welcome back. Jeff Oravits here, and I've got a room full. We've added from Jerry Neighbors, just me and him. We've got Bob Thorpe was with us. Let's get the cameras up here. We're also streaming now on talkwithjeff.com. You get the link to go to YouTube, and you'll see it's crowded in here. How you guys doing?
Great. Happy to be here.
Bob,
Excited.
you probably need a headset to get that going. Yeah, I'm excited. I think, do we have any, well, let me go around first of all. Bob Thorpe, who's a 4-term member he was on the Arizona legislature, served for
House of Representatives.
8 years. We got to get you more comfortable there. You got to stretch. Mark Howard, who's frequent guest host with me, guest co-host, who's followed the legislature for years and
ran for Bob's spot at one point.
Ran for Bob's spot at one point.
Fortunately, you didn't make it.
Yeah. No, he would have been good. We need him right now. No, not against you.
He would have been good.
We're already getting into a dispute
I'm saying
here.
it's a painful experience.
Yeah.
It looks painful when I worked down there. It really did.
And Jerry Neighbors with us, and he's going to leave. Former Mayor Flagstaff, you're leaving. When are you leaving? You got to go count the ballots, or you got to go observe.
Official observer.
I have to watch them count the ballots.
Is there a lot to do?
I can tell you, as someone who has watched them count ballots before, you should pay very close attention, because I found a bunch of things that weren't consistent with the Arizona elections law.
Yeah, Jeff, you and I were on city council when Rob brought that to our attention. And
they weren't following the manual.
He could cite exactly what he saw and what law it violated, and his point was, I'm not so sure Coconino County should be running your city election because they don't do a very good job of it.
Well, I hope things have changed. I had the elections folks on for Coconino County yesterday, the director, and I hope it's not going like it's. And Rob Wilson's with us too. I need to finish the introductions here. Rob Wilson has followed politics. Me and him have been in the trenches for years when it comes to politics, right?
Yep.
And also the owner of Timberline Firearms and Training. I hope they're doing better than Maricopa. We
haven't heard any reports of problems in
like
Coconino
that. Yeah.
County.
What's going on in Maricopa? Does anyone have an update on Maricopa County? What's going on down there?
Tabulating machines?
20%. You guys heard about this?
Yeah, when they say tabulating machines, what they really mean is scanners. They're basically scanners that they feed the ballots in, and they count the dots and where they're at. Apparently, the printers that were printing the ballots, they print them real time for their walk-ins. We're having some problems printing them accurately, so the scanners were rejecting the ballot because it wasn't printed properly. And they're fixing that as they go kind of around to different precincts and getting it fixed. So we'll see
on
how
election
that comes
day,
out.
Rob? I mean,
they didn't have enough toner to do the Republicans, right?
Surprise.
Well, what's happening as it's scanning through? I mean, is it shooting out two for this,
no,
one
it just
for that?
rejects it. So the voter feeds it in one side of the machine, and they expect it to disappear into the box on the other, but instead it comes right back out at them.
Okay, how does that happen though? Because Rob, you've been an election observer in the past, and you've gone in there. Jerry, you did it last during the primary.
Yes,
and then you're doing it again tonight. Aren't they supposed to test this stuff?
Oh, they have. Yeah, they've done accuracy testing. They've done all kinds of testing that supposedly guarantees all this is going to work right.
Okay. All right. We'll see what happens. What do you guys think tonight? So we're waiting for 6 p.m. results. I appreciate everyone listening and hanging on past usually I'm off at 5:40. I'm working extra today. They paid me with, can I touch one of your cookies, Bob?
Yeah, go for it.
Got the camera here. We're streaming.
Now you got to eat it though.
Yeah. It's not like Olivia's peach story. We're streaming live on YouTube. You can get the video at talkwithjeff.com. Video links right there. The audio feed is right there too. Plus, we're on 97.1 FM throughout northern Arizona. I'm told. I got a thumbs up that all the wonderful technology is working perfect. So what's up, Mark?
So, Jeff, my prediction is if people went to go buy new tires, they're going to vote straight Republican. I went to go buy I went to Price Tires today. And for my truck, they told me over $2,400 for my pickup truck for tires.
Look how big your truck is.
4 tires.
Goodness.
But those tires would have cost a couple years ago, before the pandemic, about $1,300.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have a little smaller truck than yours. You have a big truck. I have what's considered a pretty, used to be considered a big truck.
I have a 2500 diesel.
Yeah, I have a Nissan Titan, and I did my tires recently, and it was around $1,200-$1,300, and it used to be probably $800 for that set. Yep. So yeah, if people, what do you guys think? And are we going to get results at 6? Are you guys watching that? The East Coast results? I think we'll start seeing those feeding in. at 6. So
There's-
who's on that?
They've been calling some races have already been called on the East Coast.
Okay.
The ones that were going to be landslides anyway.
Can you pull up that list,
I will
Rob?
do
And in
that.
a second, we're going to tell you about those races. Well, our plan is here as the evening progresses is we're going to continue to bring you those results. Our big push is the 8 p.m. Arizona results, which we're waiting for. Obviously, the whole nation's watching the Kerry Lake. What's her name? Katie Hobbs. Burger King girl.
Coward. Oh, I mean Katie.
Katie, if Kate, yeah, and Blake Masters and Mark Kelly. Jerry and I did predictions last hour. We were kind of split on that. Do you guys have any predictions on? Let's just do the Kerry Lake and the Masters Kelly race. Bob.
I heard the two of you, you and the mayor, talking earlier today about now that the Libertarian has dropped out, and he was polling at 1.67 points, and he threw his weight behind Masters. So I'm not sure if it was too late in the game because early ballots had already started being mailed at that point. So, but I have to believe that that's going to have an impact on Masters race.
I think it will. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It'll certainly help him. Will it be enough?
Yeah, exactly. And, the biggest problem with Masters or any of these, contenders trying to take out an incumbent is Mark Kelly, of course, being an astronaut, there's a certain allure to that, being married to Gabby, and so on and so forth. But the Democrats have just dumped tons and tons and, truckloads of money into that race. And so how do you overcome that?
It's an amazing amount of money. How do you overcome that in the popularity? But I guess that'll be the sign as we get some of those East Coast results. Is that trend so much for the Republicans, and has it trended so much towards the Republicans the past couple of weeks? Blake Masters was behind. I told him last week when he was on the program that if he had asked me 2 weeks prior, that I would have said that he was going to lose. I told him right on air because he was down a significant amount in the polls. I don't always believe the polls, but when you're down by 12 points.
That's
and
pretty.
But he really overcame that. And now it's like a dead heat going into this.
So you mentioned all of the money that's been dumped in. Do you look? We have it's 5 people here. Do you donate to any?
And he's doing
candidates?
accounting at that. No, I'm just kidding.
Do you donate to any candidates? Or is it? There's a legitimate argument. Sending a candidate $100 or $200 is a drop in the bucket.
Oh yeah.
So I've got a great story on that. So my cousin, he's in Missouri. Yeah, he sent me some money for Masters and asked me to send it to the campaign. So then I matched what he sent to me and sent it into the campaign. So you've got people around the country that are interested in these races as well.
What do you got, Rob? Some results?
Yeah, the Georgia Senate race, Warnock and Walker, right? That was going to be a tight one. They've got 18% of the vote in right now. Warnock's ahead 56% to 42%.
Okay, where's it coming from though? Is it coming from the Atlanta area? Is it that'll make big differences?
I haven't seen a breakdown of where that 18%
they haven't called
represents.
anything with that.
Oh
right?
no,
yeah, that's way too 18,000 votes.
19% is counted so far.
19%.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Ohio, we've got Ryan and Vance.
Yes.
Another hotly contested one. The Democrat Ryan is up 62 to 37.
How much reporting?
That one's just 5%.
And again, I don't know the breakdown. Where could this be coming from?
And the big question too is just what percentage of these early ballots that are mail-in ballots for the most part in most states represent Democratic voters who tend to be more likely to do mail-in than Republicans, and what will change once the polls close and they actually start counting the votes that were cast today. And
imagine if the early votes for Arizona just came in like a small amount, and Flagstaff reported first, though.
Yeah.
Mark Kelly would be up by 69%,
Easily,
82% or something like that.
Yep.
So we don't know where they're coming from. It's way early. Go ahead, Jerry.
Well, the early returns is something to be kind of cautious about because remember in the primary, Kerry Lake said, I've encouraged people who are supporting me, go vote the day. Don't do early voting. And that's exactly what happened with her is the first votes showed that Karen Robson was going to win this. And then by morning, Kerry Lake won. And it was the at-the-poll voters that carried Kerry Lake.
Yes.
And I wonder if that'll happen again.
I remember during the primary, I went to bed because thinking Carrie Lake had lost, and I had endorsed her during the primary, and I was like, oh man, she was down by a couple of points, and then woke up and it had flipped. And Carrie Lake went. She said, "I'm going to win this because we're waiting for all those polling place people to come in." Now she was on the program yesterday. Was that yesterday? Yeah. Oh my gosh! Yeah. And she was encouraging people to either spoil their ballot, where they go in and destroy it, and then vote at the precinct, or get their early ballots in. Last week she was like mail them, and that the media was picking up on that, saying, "Oh, now the one that had election doubts is saying to mail it in. That doesn't like mail it." But hey, you got to work with the system. You're it.
But I don't think you can make any conclusions at 8 o'clock tonight when they release the count of the mail-in voting.
Okay.
I don't know that you can put much stock in it.
I only can if Carrie's up by 3 to 5 points, I'm going to put a lot of stock into it because I think then she's going to be really far ahead when the more stuff comes in that people dropped off their early ballots.
If the Republican is ahead,
yes,
chances by a sizable margin, then chances are that will probably hold. If it's the reverse, you got to wait and see.
Yeah, if the Democrats said, I get nervous.
Yeah, and I'm curious too. I did a survey today at work at Timberline Firearms and asked all of my employees that were there today, where did you vote? Because every one of them better have voted. And every single one of them voted at a polling place today. So 5 out of 5 voted in a polling place. We got 5 people here. Mm-hmm. How many of you guys voted early versus polling place? Polling place?
Early.
Okay, I'll start. I dropped my early ballot off today. What about you, Bob?
My wife and I, we dropped ours off at the county last week.
Last week.
Mm-hmm.
So I dropped mine, and my wife did too at the county. It was we got the early ballot, but we dropped them off last week.
Jerry.
Yeah, at the county.
Jerry mailed.
So
did
I
you
was
mail
the
it or
only
you dropped
poll
it off?
voter today.
So you actually didn't get an early ballot. You actually showed
I
up.
did.
Okay,
I did. And I used that to do my research and all that.
And then you spoiled
mark it and go in there, and then they spoil it.
How'd that process work? Tell me about that.
It was interesting because when I asked them about it, they were like, because I actually used the term, aren't we supposed to spoil this ballot? And they were all looking at me like, uh-oh, he knows too much.
I didn't know about it when Carrie Lake brought it up, or Senator Wendy Rogers may have brought it up. And I was like, what is that?
They handled it differently. Elise had hers with her, and my wife, Elise, with hers, they made her sign it and write spoiled on the ballot.
Wow.
I didn't have mine with me, so I didn't have to do anything. So it seems like, is there a difference there, and why should they?
Did they give you a provisional ballot? Or?
No, it was not provisional. It was a regular ballot.
Wait. You went in and did not bring your mail-in ballot?
Right.
And they took your word on it that you were just requesting a new ballot and you were going to spoil your own?
Apparently.
Is that what I don't like that.
Yeah.
So
it
you
doesn't
could
sound right.
have
I could have already
out,
mailed it in.
Yeah, you could have walked out, thrown it in one of those boxes,
Yeah.
and voted twice.
In theory, yeah.
But they should be at your polling place marking off Rob Wilson as voted here. And then when they get your mail-in ballot, that should also show that Rob Wilson voted also there.
Will they
do all that? When do they reconcile
Will they check
that?
all those?
They should.
Well, Jerry, we're going to have to ask you to get an answer to that question here tonight.
So, Rob, was your name on the list when you got to the polling place?
His name's on some kind of list.
Well, they scan your driver's license.
Okay.
And you pop up and say, yep, you're right precinct,
Wow.
right? And here's the ballot for you where you live. And they handed me a ballot, and I went and marked it.
Okay, that's something that we need to note on the board to follow up with after this election is there. You should probably have to bring in your existing one, I guess, unless you lost it.
Or given a provisional. If you can't prove that you've wasted your primary ballot, your early ballot, then you should have to do a provisional so they can double check.
Yeah,
so what do all of you think about the drop boxes and some of the vigilantes that have been, trying to protect
first,
the
I
drop
think
boxes?
vigilante is not a fair term to use.
Yeah, probably not.
I think concerned citizens might be a more fair thing to say.
Wait, you're talking about, okay, hang on, hold that thought. I got to do something real quick. We're going to be pretty much uninterrupted for the most part, but we do want to pause here for our folks on 97.1 FM for 10 second, can I get that
ID.
out? Station ID. So hang on for that, and we'll just kind of keep chatting. Maybe I'll eat a cookie.
Do it.
This is the Jeff Oravits Show.
All right, continuing on here with I got Bob Thorpe, I've got Mark Howard, I've got Jerry Neighbors, Rob Wilson, and I forgot to mention this. And are we at the top of the 6 o'clock now? So you seen anything pop up there? Rob Wilson's keeping an eye on it. Mark, you got it. You looking too? We expect results from back east, so we're monitoring that. We have the ability to take your calls too if you want to chat, if you want to. I don't know, give us your election predictions. Tell us any stories you're seeing out there, any issues you're seeing out there. The Just Wireless listener line's open for you. 877-971-3971. That's 877-971-3971. You can also email talkwithjeff@icloud.com. We are going to, this hour, we'll have a few commercial breaks, and then starting at 7, when we get all these, we're going to get a bunch of results from back east, and then at 8, we're going to get the Arizona results. Starting in the 7 o'clock hour, we're going commercial free as we continue to look at these results and post them up on talkwithjeff.com. So, Rob, you were talking about the issue of people were armed and they were at the polling places. What was that, last week?
Yeah.
Bob brought it up. And
I think it was down in Pima or Maricopa County, I think.
I think it was Maricopa, yeah.
I thought I heard a Yavapai as well.
Was it Yavapai?
And
Okay.
what they were doing is they were staying the required 75 feet away from the box because that's considered a polling place. But they were observing it because there's been some movies produced and things that talked about, illegal ballot collection, which is now in Arizona illegal. You can't harvest ballots.
Yeah.
And so they were kind of watching to see whether that's happening or not here in Arizona now that we passed that new law. And there were some people that felt uncomfortable being watched or being photographed or being videotaped. Okay. Now, all of that was happening in a public place. All of it was perfectly legal. No one threatened anyone. No one was injured. I personally, I think there were some people overreacting on the side of the ballot droppers as opposed to the observers. I think being an active citizen in our country is a good thing to do. And just like Jerry's going to be a elections observer tonight, that's an important process. And it begins perhaps at the ballot box.
So I live over in University Heights area, and they've got that little church over there. And there was actually out front, instead of the right-wing observers, there was actually a left-wing group there that they were calling themselves like voter protection group.
Oh, watching the ballot?
Well, they're watching for harassment of voters.
so the watchers are watching the watchers?
Yeah. They had a table set up with 2 people freezing in their coats out there in the shade. And they were claiming that their job, based on their sign, was to make sure nobody got harassed getting to
And what if they saw someone were they going to interfere?
Yeah, what do you do?
I don't know.
Man.
I guess what do you do?
Really
It's University Heights,
fast.
like, what's going to happen over there? It was more of a political show than anything.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm dying to see these
Active
Arizona
citizens.
results. Yeah, active citizens. I hope I'm going to steal a line from Glenn Beck this morning. I hope that there's a majority, 50+1 of us at least in this country that is like sane at this point. I'm going to be really disappointed if we get to these results and the country's still. How could you support these Democrats, Rob? I mean, going forward with the craziness that's going on.
Yeah, earlier today you were talking about, is this a referendum? Is this election a referendum on anything? And what popped into my mind is this is a referendum on responsibility. Are we going to hire people that are responsible to work for us? Are we going to hire people that are emotional? Because it seems to me to be what's driving the majority of the folks on the left that I tend to disagree with, although I can admit that I did vote for Democrats on my ballot today.
You did? Wow.
I did.
It's a big one.
I think the referendum on responsibility, responsibility, the government responsibility of the individuals, we've lost that sense of responsibility, and we've lost the respect for human life and a number of other things. And I think that's what the referendum is going to be on if this turns out to be the red wave, tsunami, whatever that people have talked about.
Jerry, you brought this up last hour, the inability of us to even have a conversation, even if we disagree. I'm happy to have Democrats on this show, even if we can have a respectful conversation. Now, when they do something really crazy and they're out of their mind and we got to report on it, we talk about they're out of their mind. I mean, sometimes there's no common ground when people do things so crazy. But I think for the most part,
don't pick on Eva.
Your former councilman. I think we can at least talk about it. But I think that in my experience, the left have gone berserk a lot quicker. When you don't agree with them, they they don't want to hear it. They want to shut you down. I mean, we've seen that. What I found interesting this past week with the whole Elon Musk and Twitter thing is, we can't allow this kind of media control by someone who wants to do this and that. And he's not even an ultra conservative guy. And it's like, well, welcome to our world. I mean, we've been dealing with that for years where the left has been running these social media giants. But anyway, the inability for even the Democrats to come over and have that conversation, well, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was wondering, Jeff was open this whole last year. He's been open to having any candidate on his show. And none of the Democrats have showed up.
Well, Paul Deasy.
No, Paul Deasy did. And
Paul Deasy, the sheriff, I believe, is a registered Democrat.
Sheriff
Driscoll.
Driscoll is a Democrat.
Isn't he unopposed?
He's not ready. He's not even up. He was up 2 years ago, and I voted for him. Jail tax.
And my thinking was, if I'm running for office, no matter what party, and here is a person who has a broad listener base geographically, why wouldn't I want to come on and say, hey, here's my position?
Because some people are undecided.
I want you to know my position. Vote for me or don't vote for me, but it's my obligation to get my position out there.
And it's free. It doesn't cost them a penny to ship. In fact, Jeff even gives us cookies to be here.
I got to pay you something. Sit here for hours waiting for results.
I enjoyed all those conversations when Coral Evans would come in and sit down with you, when Tom O'Halloran would come in and sit down with you. I mean, you really get an insight of their political views.
I must have been sleeping. I was choking on my cookie. Tom O'Halloran, that's an interesting one I'm watching closely. And if you're just joining us, you go to talkwithjeff.com. We have all of the featured kind of Arizona races from the top. What do we call the top? Would be Blake Masters, Mark Kelly, Kerry Lake, Katie Hobbs, and all the way down to some local school board races. Kind of in the middle there is the congressional, I don't know if it's middle to top, Congressional District 2 race, which a lot of us have been trying to flip that out of Democrats' hands for 10 years since it's been redistricted a couple times. Tom O'Halloran's the Democrat incumbent. What do you think the chances are that Eli Crane, the Republican challenger, walks away with this thing tonight? Who wants to take that one?
I'll take it. I think
I got four of you here. No one jumped on that.
I think he's got a really good chance of doing it. I think Representative O'Halloran has been absent without leave from his job. I haven't seen him participating in anything except very minor, small events that have just a whole bunch of very like-minded people with, that he's participating with. He ignores the rest of his constituency, which is one of the biggest problems of the majority of the politicians nowadays. Is the only people they care about are the ones that actually voted for them. They forgot that when they get elected, they're there to represent everyone, not just those that voted for them. And I think he's been guilty of that as much as anyone.
I've never seen him. I mean, all the time he's been in there, he's finishing up his second term. So he's been in there for almost 4 years. I've been doing this show for 6 years. We're entering our 7th year. I mean, why wouldn't you come on? What was that about? So I hope Eli, and I told Eli Crane, I said, well, I hope you'll be giving us updates once you get in there. That's kind of a big thing for people to hear what the heck's going on in D.C.
Yeah, and across the country, we're seeing more and more former military people stepping up and running in office this year. So I love that. I think that there's, for anyone that is proud of our veterans and their service, I think that it's an easy choice to vote out an incumbent and bring in somebody who has already served our nation.
Do you think, your prediction, does Eli take this CD2 race?
Yeah. The advertising I've heard from O'Halloran has not been very impressive. And so I think that there's more money from the Republicans being put into Eli's race. And so I'm hoping
we'll try to get
a change.
I will see if we can reach out during the program here this evening and get Eli Crane on. I know he's in Prescott, I believe, waiting and watching the election results. Wait. You can still vote, by the way. I don't think we should lose sight of that. It's what time is it? 6:09 or so.
You've got 50 minutes.
You got 50 minutes, so it may make a big difference.
An important part of northern Arizona is on the Navajo Nation, the Hopi Nation. Those folks really hold veterans and military service in very, very high regard. So it's been difficult to unseat a Democrat because the nations oftentimes will vote for Democrats, but that also gives Eli an opportunity there to possibly score some votes on the reservations.
That's a good point, Bob.
Yeah, when do they stop voting? And not just Navajo Nation, for example, but the big cities that you see where these places are crime-ridden. Look at Chicago. Is it New Orleans that's now the most dangerous city in America, I believe, or one of them? When do they start saying, hey, why do I keep voting for these Democrats? Look what they've look around. Look at my life. Look at my world.
Jeff, it just doesn't work that way, though. What we see is the bigger cities get more congested. They just keep voting
Going left.
Democrat. I mean, Dallas, Texas used to be a Republican city. It's now a Democrat city. The suburbs are still heavily Republican, but the core of the city, the crowded part of the city with the traffic, the crime, all the problems, they just keep going left.
The Stockholm Syndrome. You're familiar with that, right?
You got any results, Rob?
They've called it for Marco Rubio.
Okay.
Yeah, that wasn't much of a surprise.
Yes.
I don't
Okay.
think.
So Florida, Marco
but he
Rubio.
beat a Democrat with a very strong law enforcement background, Val Demings. She'd previously been the chief of the police in Orlando and ran a very well funded campaign. And he's up 55-43 against her. So apparently, it wasn't just law and order that mattered. It'll be interesting to see what the driving force behind the voters tonight was. If is it the economy? Is it inflation? Is it law and order? Is it abortion?
Yeah, and that's Florida, which is reporting at about 74% right now.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's quick.
and it's a 10-point spread, so it's pretty big.
Yeah, that's a tough one to overcome with 74.5% in.
Okay. What happened to that one?
Earlier in the day, Wasserman Schultz in Florida, she was complaining that the Dems were not turning out. So I don't know if that was a get out the vote effort on her part or if that was real concern on the part of the Democrats.
It looked to me like the Democratic Party kind of mismanaged the abortion issue. They peaked far too early in this election season with their enthusiasm. And obviously the abortion decision really drove enthusiasm up on the Democratic side, but it seems to have waned. We're a nation of very short attention spans, it appears, and they have lost steam in so many races. When you look at what's happened between the Republican and the Democratic candidates, the Republicans have just been on a constant uphill slope, while the Democrats have just been falling off.
I got some numbers.
I think the Democrats goofed on that abortion issue by taking the position unlimited abortion rights. And it was just became black and white with them that yes or no. And I think most people think there should be some limitations on the term for abortion.
Sure. Well, and then they overplayed their hand because, Arizona, you can't get an abortion, but you can go to California. It was a states' rights issue when the Supreme Court ruled on that. And they thought that was going to be the big issue for everybody was abortion, but they forgot the old line. It's the economy, stupid. People are paying. Well, Mark, you mentioned this with your tires. Buy
over
anything.
50% increase.
Yeah. You go buy bread. You go buy this. You go buy everything is up. It's the inflation. It's the fentanyl coming across the border. It's the insanity. I really think a key issue, and we'll see how it turns out tonight. And I got a few numbers I want to share with you guys here from some of these races. But the issue of these politicians and bureaucrats messing with your kids. Yeah. I think the suburban moms got really pissed off this election cycle the past year with the drag shows for elementary school kids in certain areas and the whole transgender push, all of that I think really impacted a lot of moms out there. And Carrie, they can have talk. Yeah, they poked Mama Bear. Yep, and it had a big impact. Okay, I got some numbers. I know you want to chime in.
I just want to say we need to hit on the city elections because there's still 45 minutes to vote, and this is really important in Flagstaff because we have 4 city council positions open. But only 2 people are on the ballot, Austin Aslan and Lori Matthews. Lori's great. Austin, I've not been a fan of what he's done on council. So you can write in several people, and I wrote in Kevin Daub and Dobie, sorry.
Dobbe.
That's right. Thanks, Bob.
Regina Salas.
And I wrote in Regina. She was on the council before. She's
currently. Yeah.
No, she's not currently. She had to resign to run.
Oh, that's right.
And she got replaced with Kara House. I think, or was
No.
Daggett
Regina
got-
Salas is on the council. Becky
That was
Daggett.
Becky Daggett that had resigned.
she's running for mayor.
Oh.
Regina Salas is still there.
Right, sorry, my mistake.
She ran for mayor and didn't get on the ballot. Then
That's
she
right.
ran for council as a write-in.
Yep. Yeah. So under the law, if you run if you try to get on the ballot and you fail, you can't be a write-in for that position. So
Okay.
Regina can't be a write-in for mayor, but she can be for council. So you can write in Regina Salas. I believe it's Sean Gallagher is the other one, and then Kevin Dobe.
Dobie.
Dobie. Sorry, I'm going to do that probably all night long.
Here, let me pull this.
D-O-B-B-E.
Harris and
at
House are the other two.
I'm at talk.
House is currently on there, and she's pretty left.
I'm at talkwithjeff.com, where you can get the video link if you want to watch the show. You can get the streaming link, and you get where we will be posting results just after 8. We've got our unpaid staff upstairs working on that one,
Updating the website. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So you have the candidates in Flagstaff. You've got Becky Daggett and Paul Deasy, both Democrats, running for mayor. And then you've got the 5 write-in candidates for technically 2 positions, because Lori Matthews and Austin Aslan are going to get that spot.
Pretty much automatic. 'Cause they're on the ballot.
That's guaranteed.
And the way it works in Flagstaff is to actually win as a write-in candidate, you have to get 1,600 votes.
Yeah, odd votes, yeah.
But the city council has committed themselves, and we'll see if they actually follow through, that they would appoint the top 2 write-in candidates.
Who said that? I didn't hear that.
I got that from, I'm trying to remember the city clerk's name.
Okay.
Stacey? Salzburg.
And
Yep.
that would be, because write-ins are really tough, that would probably be an okay way to go. I don't know if anyone's going to break that threshold. I will tell you that 3 of them have been out there. House, Kevin Dobie, and Regina Salas. I mean, they've been pushing pretty hard, so it's possible, but
Yep.
I don't know. We'll see. Okay, hang on a second. I have Warnock here, 28% of the vote in Georgia, with 55.4% over Walker, 43%. Ohio, Ryan, the Democrat, with 58.6% versus Vance with 41.4%. But only 10% reporting. North Carolina, Beasley, Democrat. These are all the Senate races. 54.7 over the Republican 43.
Look at Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, 3% in. Is that what you're seeing?
I've got 4.4.
Oh, it went up. What's your number reading then?
Fetterman's at 84% against 14%.
Yeah, but where's
So
that coming
that's-
from? Is it coming from
Yeah,
Philly?
that race is way too close, and it's going to be
Yeah.
interesting to see how strong the Oprah effect is.
Yeah, so
Yeah, she
that's
came
what-
out. Yeah.
That race is, they've got a little bit of results from Pittsburgh, a little bit from Philly area, and 2 other counties, but the rest of the state is not reporting. So,
That's only 4.4%.
yeah, Erie, Allentown, all these places are not reporting yet.
Yeah, they're way too early. I wouldn't get excited about that. New Hampshire, Hassan, the Democrat, which I believe is in the incumbent, versus Republican Baldock. Is that right? 36%. So Hassan way up, but again, 11% reporting. And then, like you said, Rubio clinches, so they say, Florida, but that's not unexpected. So,
No, that would be a
yeah.
surprise.
What
if
about
he lost.
what else we got?
Tim Scott won in South Carolina
Okay.
handily,
Expected.
which is great. Yep.
Well, 8% reporting, but yeah, it looks like he'll win handily.
He'll take that. What else we got? Anything else? We don't have the West Coast ones yet.
No.
Okay.
The
we'll keep an
Kansas
eye on
one
it.
is interesting, but it's only 1% reporting. So
Why does Kansas have, and I can't find the governor's races. Here we go. Why does Kansas have a Democrat? Kansas is a conservative state. It's weird how a very conservative state has a Democrat governor and the incumbent's running. I guess this happened
that's
here.
not weird.
I mean,
That's
it's not weird.
exactly the way it's supposed to. The founders wanted, a balance of powers, and that's why they had 3 different offices that all had,
I guess.
unique capabilities. And the idea was to have a variety of opinion, and that's, I think, one of the things that I've seen. We talked about it earlier. That kind of differentiates a lot of the people in the middle and on the Republican side are okay with the other side having some representation. We feel like that's probably the most healthy way to have this set up, so that
think
we,
a
a variety of opinions.
You think a lot of people are voting for, they're going to be really happy for divided government at this point? Because nothing will get done in the next 2 years, which is better than the last 2 years. With them actually getting stuff.
The whole point was to not have the government doing a whole lot. It only doing things that really everyone can agree on. And, the House has a list of 80 or 100 or something objectives that they want to do if the Republican House wins. They ought to just send that right to President Biden and say, all right, here you go. Here's the things that we would like to do. Put a check mark next to the ones that you're willing to work with us on.
Yeah.
And let's get started, because you can't not agree with all of them, but we'll see.
All right, here's what I got to do. I told you this hour we're going to have 2 commercial breaks, and the next hour we're going to be starting with going straight through. So those of you listening on 97.1 FM, we're going to take a 4.5-minute break. Wow. So we'll be right back. But we're streaming at talkwithjeff.com. We're also where you can get the YouTube link and the video link for YouTube, and also the audio link, so you can continue on with that, because we're going to keep talking. So commercial break for the folks listening on 97.1 FM. Be back here in
See you on the other
just
side.
a second. See you on the other side. We're going to keep going, though. I'm getting hungry, though, for some tacos. I might have to leave and let you guys run it.
I've got a non-election question for Rob when we come back.
Okay. Well, we're back. We're just not back on FM, but our streaming folks are still listening. So go ahead and ask the question. Maybe this one I should leave and eat my tacos. We had wonderful tacos. My wife made tacos and some great cookies. So go ahead, ask your question.
This is non-election. Maybe a little bit of election, but
because it's election night, so let's.
So Rob Wilson wrote a very articulate letter to the Arizona Daily Sun, Flagstaff newspaper, here, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, about open carry of a firearm. And he supported it, and he had the data and information to support his position. You know, a week later, somebody writes a letter that, you know, Rob Wilson's crazy, and, you know, 500 people got killed by guns and blah, blah, blah. Totally off the point. So my question to Rob is, if you support the open carry of firearms, would you support that if the firearm is unloaded, or does it make a difference if you're carrying a loaded or unloaded firearm?
I see Rob I can read Rob.
Well, you know, that's an individual choice, whether you carry around in the chamber or not. What our general philosophy is you should never use your firearm unless it's a last resort. Nothing else can save your life, and it's the only thing left that can protect you from imminent death or serious bodily harm. And if that's the case, you probably don't have time to be chambering around. You need that immediately to be able to defend yourself, because you're using all the time you have to exhaust every other opportunity, whether it be escape or some other type of device or defensive mechanism or whatever it might be. And it's only when you get to the last resort that you should even consider using a firearm. So I advocate that it needs to be loaded and ready to go.
So what about if I wanted to carry an open carry a firearm, just to kind of let people know, hey, don't mess with me, but I don't want to really use it, so it's not loaded?
Let's get a bubble gun.
No good? Or
Yeah.
Squirt gun.
Well, there are people that believe that open carrying actually makes you more of a target. So if you're someplace that a bad guy is going to go and do something bad, the first thing in their theory is that they're going to look for people that might be open carrying and target them immediately, because they're a potential threat, or more of a potential threat than anyone else might be. And that's the folks that advocate for concealed carry, that's the primary reason behind that. You retain the element of surprise. So carrying around an unloaded firearm probably isn't a good idea. Open carrying, and is useless if it's concealed carry.
Did you see this issue it was either Oregon or Washington? They were trying to restrict the capacity. It's on the ballot tonight, to 10 rounds or less than 10 rounds.
Yeah.
I don't hold me to it, but I think it's Oregon, which is also a tight race is the governor, Drazen and Kotek.
Flip,
Yeah. I mean, Oregon's gone crazy, and there's actually another movement. And I talked with author and the guy who runs Survival Blog, James Wesley Rawls, about this, because he's in the Idaho area. They call that area Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, into eastern Oregon and Washington. They call that the American Redoubt. They're like, this is, conservative values, et cetera, et cetera. There's several counties in Oregon, eastern Oregon, that are voting to secede.
Yep.
Not from the Union, but to go to Idaho, because they're so done. And I kind of can't blame people for this at this point. If you're living in Northern California, or I went through Northern Michigan, the Upper Peninsula.
Yep.
They wish that they could be their own state, but all kinds of treaties restrict it because they're forgotten about in the South in the liberal cities. I see more and more of that coming when we get to the point where we have more states that align with people's values better. I'll throw that out there.
Jerry, if I can interject. So
nobody wants to take me up on that.
my attitude towards carrying a weapon is somebody's, let's say you're in a bank or something like that, and somebody has a weapon on their hip. It can be intimidating to folks. And so I think as a responsible gun owner, that's almost better to conceal carry so you don't make people uncomfortable, and that gun is only brought out as a last resort, that you're trying to protect yourself or protect others.
That might get the phones
Then
going.
obviously you'd have it loaded.
And
Yes.
if you're just joining us back on 97.1 FM, we just diverged for about
little
4 or
off-election
5
topic
minutes
here,
into
yeah.
a gun conversation. So I don't know if everyone caught that, but if you want to comment, the Just Wireless listener line is open just for you, 877-9713-971. I would try to pop a call or two in.
Yeah, ask the listeners, do any of you carry a weapon often, open carry,
Okay.
unloaded?
Why?
And if so, why?
Now, when you say
What's the
unloaded,
point?
do you mean
don't
you don't
get it.
have a bullet in the
No
chamber
bullets.
or
No
no
bullet.
bullet in the gun
No
at all?
bullet.
You don't have a magazine. You're just...
No bullet
It's
in the
just-
gun.
Okay. All right. Well, if anyone wants to chime in, 877-9713-971. The Ohio, let's see, I'm looking at Ohio governor election, and I think there's more results coming in about 4 minutes. DeWine, who's the incumbent, up 57-42 to retain that. Tennessee, Governor Lee, way up over Martin. I mean, he should hold that, Republican. South Carolina... Where's the one? Georgia. Here we go. Georgia. Abrams. Remember, this is a rematch.
Abrams and Kemp.
Abrams
rematch,
and
yep.
Kemp. Remember, Stacey Abrams.
The election denier? Oh, wait. No.
Yeah, she said there was remember election fraud and all this, and then
She'd refused to concede the election.
yeah, of course, and her buddies now. You know, it's just like it's unbelievable. But anyway, here, Abrams with 33.59% reporting. 50.65% to 48.82%.
So up by 2%.
Yeah, and Georgia had didn't they have runoffs last time? Or is my memory
For the Senate, they did.
For the
and
Senate,
I don't
'cause it was
know if
close.
the governor goes the same way, but if neither Walker or Warnock get 50%, they're going to have a runoff.
Interesting. Well, right now Abrams has 50.65%. We'll see what happens. New Hampshire. This is right now the Republican governor Sununu is up 50% over the Democrat Sherman at 48% with 13% reporting. So still a long ways to go. What else we got, guys? Other races here.
Let's see.
DeWine.
Surprise. Yeah, Governor Scott in Vermont won. Oh, wait. That's a Republican.
Yeah, he's a Republican. Yeah.
One of the unique ones
is only
right now.
8% reporting.
Yeah.
We've got in Texas, we have 21% reporting. And right now, Beto is up a little bit. But of course, this is too early. But
Talk about someone that wants your guns.
it's
Yeah, right?
53 to 45%.
At least he's honest about it.
Yeah, okay. I can respect being honest instead of being, slimy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are those numbers again, Mark?
53% for Beto and 45% for Greg Abbott. But again,
Austin.
we're at 21%.
Yeah.
Where
are they reporting from? Austin, maybe?
Austin's reporting.
Yeah, there you go.
San Antonio.
Austin's like the Flagstaff of Texas.
Right.
Or the Tempe
Most
of
of
Texas.
Texas is not reporting.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
up in Michigan, there was a hotly contested governor race between Whitmer. What's her first name? I forget. Christine Whitmer
Whitmer
and
Whit-
Tudor Dixon.
Yeah. She is the worst.
Whitmer is up right now, 65 to 33.
3%. Yeah.
3% is all is in. So
She's the worst governor in the nation.
Yeah.
I mean, close to what's that guy Gavin Newsom, who's going to win tonight.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then Hochul, how do you pronounce her in New York?
yep, in New York, Hochul, Kathy Hochul.
Anything on that one yet? That one's not
Nothing in yet.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if Hochul doesn't win, but it goes to show you that we're even talking about it, that there's a chance a Republican could win the governorship.
So is
New York.
reported today, Elon Musk came out And he told his 115 million followers that they should vote Republican. That he felt that was the way to create balance within the federal government. That having all three branches, the judicial, well, not all three, the judicial branch and the executive branch, under one party, under the Democrats, was really bad for America. That there needs to be some balance there. So, any thoughts on that? What do you think?
I think there's a lot to be said by people who are wanting divided government at this point. So that way they can, just to stop this craziness. I mean, if we don't stop this tonight, I don't even know what to say tomorrow. I might be moving to Idaho to the American Redoubt.
The branches of government should be under different controls.
Yeah.
Yes. So there'd be a balance, as opposed to what we
Complete
have right
democratic
now,
control of the House,
Congress
Senate,
and
and
the executive being under one party.
And that's when the left comes out and says, I can't believe this guy has control of a social media company. You know, and that's what we've been dealing with for years, is being censored. And hey, remember this election too, going back to Whitmer in Michigan, this is the referendum on COVID too. And we kind of forget about that, and that these people locked people down, kept our kids in front of screens and forced us to wear a mask, fired people for getting the vaccine, for not getting the vaccine.
Businesses shut down and fail.
Exactly.
On the Flagstaff ballot are 2 votes, I believe 2 for the override for the school district. Increase your property taxes for the school district. That's going to be a response to how do they deal with the COVID and the lockdown.
Yeah, but it's a liberal city. I wouldn't be, so Flagstaff Unified School District, what is that, 100 million they're asking for or something?
They have a bond for $100 million,
yeah,
and then they want to extend the override that exists right now for the tax rate that they've got.
It's real simple. You know, any tax increase, no. But any bond, no. And people are going to say, what about the firefighters? Well, that money is there elsewhere. You can take it out of different city funds, different county funds. Stop wasting money on, these diversity commissions, climate action things. The city spent $70,000 to study the minimum wage, even though they couldn't change it. That's a good portion of a raise for somebody. If you want to retain a police officer, if you want to retain a firefighter, give them raises. They get trained here and they move away because we don't pay them enough, and we blow the money on other stuff that doesn't need to happen.
Bob, you were in the legislature for 8 years.
Right.
When you started, the budget was maybe $8 or $9 billion.
I think it was $6.
Oh my
like
God.
Six,
okay.
6.5.
I know that last year it was $12 billion. Mm-hmm. And then this year it popped up to $18 billion. So I'm right there with Mark. That's why I voted no on 310, which was the state sales tax increase for the rural firefighters. Because I was like, wait a second, the state had a $6 billion surplus. Mm-hmm. And you're telling me I got to fund this? Why didn't they fund that?
They're already funded. You're talking about the rural fire?
Yeah. There already is
that's already
on the property tax bill.
Okay.
This is additional.
It's additional. That's what I'm saying. But if they should have worked with the legislature and said, well, wait a second, you guys got $6 billion extra. But how did it get so? And it got that big under Ducey. I know Ducey's trying to shine off his conservative credentials, but he doubled the size of government from when he got in there. The size of the budget, we should say, at least.
As more and more businesses and individuals move to Arizona, of course, you're going to see more money coming into in the coffers of government. But at the same time, we've seen something that's out of control is federal dollars coming into the state. Now there are federal dollars, and it's really fascinating. I remember Jan Brewer, before becoming governor, she said that she would relinquish the federal dollars to the control of the legislature. She never did, and Ducey had absolutely no interest in doing that as well. They see that as their slush fund, but with COVID, all those federal dollars coming in is what really caused spending by the state government, as well as some of the local governments as well, just to go out of control.
We got to get that back. I mean, we got to stop. And here's what I want to warn to: if the Republicans get control of the House tonight, which they will, if they get control of the Senate, we got to hold their feet to the fire. Because I've seen this before. This is kind of my last chance into 24 to give them support. Because if they get in there and they don't do anything, they don't try to stop the runaway budgets and deficit spending and all that, what's it all for if they're just doing it a little bit slower than the Democrats? And what's the point? So I do get concerned. Jerry's duck's back. I do get concerned that they're going to get in and look, I guess I should be fair. They're not going to be able to do anything the next 2 years. but they better be that roadblock. But if they get control of the presidency in 24, they better take action. I don't want to go through this again. I won't go through this again.
You know, the first 2 years of Trump, they had power to pass all kinds of things, and they just didn't do it. I mean, they did a little bit of a tax bill that had some mixed good things and bad things in it, but they could have done so much, and they just didn't.
Yeah.
The Democrats are always better at ganging up together. You know, they always work together better than the Republicans do. And I think that's because Republicans are independent thinkers, but every time they've had control of the presidency in both houses, they just don't get enough done.
I got an email here. If you want to email us comments, Jill sent an email, talkwithjeff@icloud.com. Just wanted to let us all know that we look great on radio. I assume you're watching the video stream, and appreciate that. Especially Jerry Neighbors, who sadly must dash over to observe everything and save us from the crumbling of democracy. If you don't, what time you got to leave for
In
that?
fact, I'm leaving right now.
You're leaving right now. Okay.
So I bid my colleagues adieu. I bid your listeners goodbye, and I'll be over there protecting our
Voter republic.
integrity or election integrity.
Jerry, on your way over there, I want you to drive by at least one of these drop boxes and see what's going on. Because I'm wondering,
And take
Yeah,
pictures.
Mark has a good question.
do these drop boxes where you can drop off your ballot, do they get locked at 7 p.m. all at once simultaneously? Because suppose you go to the poll
They have drones.
to drop off your, and the polling place is closed at 7, then you can find a drop box somewhere that hasn't been closed yet, hasn't been emptied. Maybe you can vote late.
They have to be. Anything's possible. They would have to be on that, right? How many drop boxes are out there?
Oh, there's tons of them.
You just have somebody just stationed and just.
You have to have somebody at every single one to lock it right at 7 p.m.
It actually would have to be two somebodies because everything, if there should be a Republican and a Democrat there.
Oh man, you bring up a great
find
point.
out.
Okay, and if you catch anything
Call
while you're
me.
there, call. We've got the number.
While you're still on the air.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good. Appreciate that. All right, and we'd love to hear from you. Chime in on the Just Wireless listener line. We got that open, 877-9713-971. Jerry Neighbors is taking off. Bob Thorpe's here with us, Mark Howitt, Rob Wilson, and we're waiting for more results. Do you guys have anything new? I know some polls closed at 6:30 our time. What is it, 8:30 back east now? Is there any numbers you
Walker's
can update
starting
us?
to catch up a little bit with Warnock.
Okay, give us those.
He's 46 to 52 right now, so still down by 6. But the lead is narrowing there, so it'll be interesting to watch that transpire this evening.
But so few reporting in.
38%, I think.
28, okay.
Oh, I've got
36%.
Yeah.
We're
all looking at different sites. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a great
Some of
map
us are.
up, but it disappeared. So who knows what happened with that. And then we're waiting for Arizona results if you're just joining us, but we won't see that till just after 8 p.m.
Yep.
And then we're only going to see really what's been turned in, those early ballots.
Yeah. So we've been talking about, in Flagstaff, we're short 2 council members on the ballot. So anytime you write in somebody, even if you write in Mickey Mouse, they've got to hand count that ballot. So that process is going to be slow because there's going to be a lot of
thousands. Yeah.
Thousands. And Cottonwood has the same problem.
Does Cottonwood have a write-in? And LD6 has a Republican write-in,
Yep.
which LD6 is heavily Democrat.
Right.
The Democrats are going to take the 2 House seats and the
that's
Senate seat. There is
almost impossible.
somebody stood up, though. Rich King was the write-in candidate. If you're still out there and voting and you're in LD6, Rich King is the official write-in candidate. What I never really knew about write-in in the process was you have to fill in the circle and you have to fill in the name pretty dang accurate.
Yeah. Do you have to spell it exactly right?
I don't think it's
No, you
exact.
don't.
No. Do you know much about that? I mean,
I've asked about that, and as long as they can tell who you intend. So if you spell Kevin Doby with 1 B, they're still going to count that.
it's pretty clear.
Yeah, it's pretty clear.
Gotcha.
But if you're like Kevin Dibble or something, then
It becomes questionable.
Yeah, it
you can
becomes-
probably argue that in court too.
Yep.
You can bring up those, but if you're not enough, if you don't fill out the paperwork, I just always thought if you had a write-in and you got enough support, if Rob Wilson wanted to be governor and did a write-in but never filed paperwork, and a million people in the state wrote him in and he wouldn't win.
Yeah, you have to file as a write-in.
Yeah, which I don't know. When did we? Are we the only state that does that, or is that pretty normal across the country?
I bet a part of that ties into election spending. So as a candidate, when you spend
reporting.
money,
Report.
right, you have to report. So if you're going to be a write-in, then spend money like Regina Salas is doing to get her name out there, you've got to report that. So they want to have you be an official write-in. I think that's part of it.
So an important question is, why do we have 2 positions in the city council where we don't have any candidates on the ballot, and Jeff can actually answer this one. It's because the threshold is so incredibly high for the number of signatures, legitimate signatures you need to be able to get on the ballot.
Because it's a percentage of the last election, right?
So, for me, running as a state lawmaker, I typically need to get about 400 to 500 valid signatures to be able to get on the ballot. For Flagstaff City Council is what, 1,500?
1,600.
Yeah, it's huge. And then,
you got to get extras too.
And then it's a slap in the face.
You have to have 1,600 valid signatures,
Valid,
which means probably 2,400.
Yeah.
And then, the other slap in the face is if those people do not get enough votes, that 1,600 vote minimum, then the council decides who they want to fill those seats.
Yeah, they'll point it.
And I'm sure they'll select some conservatives, right?
Well, that's what aggravates me about any of these races. Flagstaff is a perfect example. We're looking at many races throughout the state. But we're sitting in Flagstaff tonight, and a lot of us vote in Flagstaff, or it influences us greatly. They don't even want you to have one. Not one representative. I've seen letters to the editor where they'll say they were targeting Lori Matthews, who I think is much more conservative.
It was the Daggett campaign, I think, that was advocating for that, right?
I have no idea who.
Any kind of opposition whatsoever.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, let's say the one candidate that happened to get on the ballot, which is Lori Matthews, who I endorse and support and hope she gets in there. There's 7 members. She gets in there. Oh, okay. You can still get anything through you want. You don't want... How many do you think there are people that don't lean solidly left are in Flagstaff, for example? I mean, is it 40% of the population?
So Trump got about 37, 38% of the vote last time. So
let's
that gives
say,
you an idea.
So, okay, let's just go with 40%. You don't want 40% to have one representative. I mean, to me, that is just, I don't care. I served on there, served with Jerry Neighbors, and it was pretty split the whole time we were on there, 4-3 or so, where there was a healthy argument every week between the left and the right.
Which is how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, they don't want that. I don't mind that. A lot of them don't want that. It
makes worked so well in North Korea, though.
Yeah, in Cuba and places like that.
Well, there's a couple ways to do it, Jeff. I mean, they could split the city up into precincts where each precinct gets their council member on there. They wouldn't call them council members at the time. I think they have a different name for them, but precinct member or whatever. But that's one way to do it. So, University Heights in that part of town gets one on council. Just Donny Park, or not Donny Park, but like Sunnyside gets one. Just
like the county does with the Board of Supervisors. You have your supervisor for your district.
Mm-hmm. That would be fair. Or the parliamentary type system where if you get, the top 5 vote getters get in, or 4 or whatever it is.
And the council isn't the only elected office where there's gaps like that are going to have to get appointed. The Summit Fire and Medical District has 4 openings and 2 people running.
Oh, wow.
So
there's
that
all
ran in the
those too.
primary. There were only 2 qualified, so those 2 automatically get passed through.
Those weren't even on my radar.
No.
Rob. Yeah,
and so that means the Summit Fire Board now is going to appoint the other member of the board once they get seated, instead of us electing them, which is wrong. We shouldn't be doing that.
All right, let's do this. If you've got a comment, email me, talkwithjeff@icloud.com. If you want to chime in, the phone's available, 877-971-3971. Thank you to Just Wireless for sponsoring our phone line. We're waiting for probably a sizable amount of results coming in at 7. I got to do our last word. We got 4 minutes here, 4-minute commercial break for everyone listening on 97.1 FM. We're going to continue on, and when we come back from the break, I'm going to go eat some tacos while you guys talk about something because I want to be ready for the 7 p.m. ballot drop.
Heck yeah.
All right, so we're taking a quick break here on 97.1 FM. And like I said, chime in, talkwithjeff@icloud.com. That's talkwithjeff@icloud.com. Did you get some tacos?
They're great.
Okay, Mark.
I'm getting hungry.
No supervision now. We can go wild.
All right.
Yeah.
It's party time
I'll wait
in the Oravits.
I've got an old
bunker
chocolate
here.
chip cookie I forgot was in my my computer bag, and
I
I'm
saw
trying
that.
to, so if you hear a lot of crunching on the radio,
And
that's,
Bob still has an extra one sitting over there. I don't
know why I'm eating this old one. There's delicious ones upstairs.
Do you need
I
a glass of milk?
I think so.
Or
Dip
something
it,
like that? Yeah, dip it in there.
So my wife is a runner, and we went out to San Diego recently, and she found the donut race. And these people, so
that might be something worth running for.
You have to eat a donut, run a quarter mile, eat another donut, run a quarter mile, eat another donut, run a quarter mile. So 4 donuts in a mile. And the funny thing is they're at the start line and they say, go, but you have to eat a donut before you start running. And the guys stick the thing in their mouth and then they're like, They're trying to chew.
Who comes up
a
with
minute
this
goes
stuff?
by, nobody's left the start line yet.
So now we've done guns and donuts. On
Guns and donuts, yeah, during the breaks, yeah. Now I'm getting really hungry, so I'll wait till we rejoin here with 97.1 FM, and then I'll go eat some tacos. What are you guys going to talk about? You want to hit on propositions? I know you've been.
I'd like to talk about the big picture too of, what's the election integrity really like here? We heard about the problems they're having in Maricopa. There's been states all across the country that are having problems. Yet we've been told for the last 2 years that the last election was perfect, right?
Yeah,
there
no
wasn't
problems.
an error one anywhere. It was absolutely perfect. So what happened in these last 2 years?
Not only perfect, but if you claim it wasn't perfect, you're wiped off the map.
Election denier, sedition. Yeah, it's all that.
Well, so Rob, but last time around when they did the audit in Maricopa, they didn't find a whole lot, except that they found that a lot of stuff was deleted off hard drives. And they asked for this information from Maricopa County, and it's just gone. They pulled a Hillary Clinton on them.
Yeah.
And it's just missing information. How can you do an audit that way?
Many of the servers use the same password. They did have different passwords or different servers.
Yep.
Terrible.
No, the Dominion software that they used in Maricopa County was the same software that in machines that Texas rejected 3 times for security reasons. Password that was like 1, 2, 3, 4. You could literally stick a USB drive into the side of the machine, and it would read whatever votes were on there.
Well, Rob, you've been around stuff.
Well, that's
you have clearances and stuff. That's one of the big things is
USB sticks are one of the worst. They're not even allowed for use in the U.S. military.
Yeah.
They are so easy to put a virus on, and most operating systems treat them just like on a hard drive. So they'll read it immediately and execute anything that's on it.
Yeah.
Isn't that what took out the Iranian centrifuges?
Yes.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
No, that's true. That is, yeah.
But whenever you see a spy or some kind of movie, it's like, oh, they're sticking it in the drive, and it's like, yeah, that's not going to.
Coincidentally, one of the things when I was an election observer several years ago that I saw was they have a state certified computer that is connected to those scanners counting all the ballots, right? And it's air gapped, meaning it's not electrically connected to anything so that nothing can contaminate that. And when it's done counting, they were supposed to burn a CD with the results of that and take it over to the computer that is connected to the Secretary of State's office to report those votes. But they weren't doing that. Instead, what they were doing is using a USB stick, which wasn't certified. So they would put a USB stick into a computer that had audit software on it that said if anybody changed anything or did anything on it, that audit log would show it. They would burn the file onto this USB stick and then hand carry it over to the other computer and plug it in, which also had audit software on it. The problem was, and that was while we were watching, the format of that file is a Microsoft Access database. So if you had taken that USB stick to any other computer and changed anything you wanted on it, and then went and plugged it into the Secretary of State computer, that's what would have been transmitted.
Unsecured database.
With no audit log whatsoever. And they didn't see a problem with that.
Well, I see a post here from Arizona Republic. Tucson election officials are urging people to have faith in the system. It's I just want this stuff to work. I know nothing's perfect. There's always going to be, there's human errors. There's things that happen. I just wish we'd get this down better. I really wish we'd go back to the polling places, although there could be problems with that as well. But there's one day, and I know it's never going to happen. There's one day you cast your ballot and then we tabulate it all and figure it out. And it takes a lot longer, but there's not that 4 weeks of things being mailed and all this back and forth, 4 week long,
finding ballots
election.
in a trunk.
So Jeff, one of the things I think about is, all right, you got a senile grandma still alive.
And we're back, folks. Thanks for everyone for listening. And last commercial break. Sorry to cut you off, Mark.
So we're back on not just YouTube streaming, but
we're back. And I appreciate everyone listening. If you got a comment, talk with Jeff at iCloud.com. By the way, thank you to John, who's our engineer, manning the station. He's over there communicating by text and stuff, and he's doing an excellent job at making us all
Couldn't
happen.
do it without him.
Yeah, really appreciate that. Go ahead, Mark.
So
hey, you guys talk. I'm going to have taco before a big 7 p.m. drop.
One of my big problems with the mail-in ballots is, so you got grandma who's maybe senile, not aware of what's going on, but she's going to keep getting that mail-in ballot in the mail. And what's to keep one of her kids or a caretaker from using that?
Well, her signature is supposed to prevent that.
Yeah, but okay, so here's what happened. When I was in high school, you could get a note from your parents saying, so-and-so can get out,
Signed, Mom.
Signed, Mom. So what we figured out at the beginning of the school year was, we would sign our parents' signature card ourselves, so that later on when we cheated and wrote our own, it matched perfectly, right?
Yeah, there you go.
So you sign grandma's, whatever. And
this last election, the primary, there were people that were receiving multiple ballots.
Yeah, that's an issue too.
And one of the propositions this time is talking about those mail-in ballot security issues and whether or not there shouldn't be additional data required on a mail-in ballot to validate you are actually you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and we have secret ballots for a reason. My ballot's not secret. I take a picture of it and I send it to anybody who asks me how to vote. I'm just like, yep, here's the picture of what I did. You can copy that if you want. I don't care.
I like it.
That's actually illegal in some states.
It is to take a photograph of a ballot.
Yeah.
Not in Arizona. So I went through this afternoon and was looking at where are there problems right now. And, this perfect election we had last time has really gone to heck this time because in Chicago, cyber attacks are preventing their polling places from communicating with their central stations.
Interesting.
So and these cyber attacks, the denial of service cyber attacks is what their clerk was saying have been going on for the last month.
Wow.
And it's like, well, wait a minute. They've been going on for the last month, but you didn't do anything to stop this. You didn't plan to address it on election day? Apparently not. In Pennsylvania, there's a county where they ran out of the paper necessary to print the ballots. And so they couldn't print any more ballots. And a judge has now ordered their polls to be open until 10 p.m. so they could get paper to them, get the ballots printed in there. Then we've got the scanners or the tabulators here in Arizona that were failing 20 to 30% of the time down in Maricopa.
Now, Rob, remind me, last time in Pennsylvania, they had a rule that you had to have your ballot in by such and such time to be counted. And then they just abandoned that rule, if I remember correctly. And they just kept counting them.
The other thing that Pennsylvania is doing this time, the Pennsylvania Constitution requires that when you sign that mail-in ballot, you also date it. And the date has to be correct. It can't be 2021. It can't be 2024. And the court system in Pennsylvania has now overridden that temporarily. It's being challenged in court. But they're saying, despite the fact the Constitution says that, we think the intent was really to give the benefit of the doubt to the voter. And so we're going to accept those ballots anyway. So they're supposed to be keeping them segregated, but who knows what's going on with that.
So if you don't know what year it is, should you really be voting?
Yeah. In Iron County, Utah, they mailed the mail-in ballots were sent out Saturday.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah,
really?
yeah. So there's a chance some of those people aren't going to get them in time. Let's see.
You're not disparaging the U.S. mail service.
Well, if they're not mailed till Saturday and having them back by Tuesday, I don't think that's disparaging the Postal Service at all.
So, Rob, it's a little bit late to give this warning, but here in Flagstaff, people need to be aware that when you mail anything, if I mail something to you across town, it goes to Phoenix to get sorted.
Sorting station, yeah.
And then comes back up. So as a contractor, I get checks from people in Phoenix quicker than I get a check from somebody that could be next door to me in my neighborhood.
Yeah. If you mailed your next door neighbor a check for whatever, it would take
longer.
At least 3 days.
So if you mailed your ballot even Thursday, Friday last week, it might have been too late, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You should have dropped it off. I hope you did. We've got 8 minutes left here to vote in Flagstaff. Hopefully at this point you're in line. If you're not, quick, run down, get in line, do your duty.
Yeah, yes, I think vote. If you are physically in line at 7 o'clock, they'll allow you to come in, but
yes, if you're actually in line, they're supposed to put someone at the back of the line, an election official, to say, last voter at 7 p.m.
Right.
That's an important position there.
Yeah.
What if you just let one or two more people in?
So I was thinking about something on the way over here. What do you think about having the situation we're in right now? The Secretary of State, who oversees elections
and is also running
for governor,
and may have to make a call on her own election.
Shouldn't the Secretary of State have to step down?
Automatically should be disqualified.
Yeah.
It's a clear conflict of interest.
Or you have to have some kind of separation there.
And she's been asked multiple times and refused.
You should at least have to recuse yourself. When Woodruff was on city council, he would constantly recuse himself because his business had an involvement with whatever bill was being passed.
Yeah, he contracted with the city to provide services.
Yep.
So anytime anything like that was being discussed, he would make sure he was not there.
So as Arizona does have a resign to run law, but only if you're not in your last year, which Katie Hobbs is in her last year of being Secretary of State, so she didn't have to resign, but she should at least recuse herself from the elections completely.
You would hope.
which means she should just resign because she's Secretary of the State. But we do need a law where if you're Secretary of State, you're running for governor, you need to just...
Actually, I don't think she is in her last term. I mean...
she would have to be, other's she would...
No. What I'm saying is she could have actually run for Secretary of State again.
Right.
Yeah, I think you can run for 2 terms for 8 years. So, the reason, I mean, in that she's running for another office, she won't be running for Secretary of State, of course, but still overseeing your own election. That sounds like
and in effect,
nonsense.
she did resign because based on the records that they kept down at the Capitol, she was only in her office 19 days and 6 months,
something like that.
Yeah,
she only came in long enough to racially intimidate people of other races, and to reduce their pay.
Yeah, apparently.
I remember when Jan Brewer was in that position, because Secretary of State in Arizona is essentially what's now the lieutenant governor. If the governor's out for any reason, the Secretary of State steps in. And I remember talking to Jan Brewer in person. She would, as she's walking through the Capitol, she'd just stop and talk to everybody. And I happened to be subpoenaing her at the time for a case involving my election, but that's a different story. But she was very much there and present, whether you agree with what she did or not. But Katie Hobbs, where is she hiding out? She wouldn't debate. You don't see her much.
Yeah, she's in her office working. So, and she doesn't seem to be out debating and campaigning
She's
too
not
much.
on the campaign trail very much. No.
No, it's an interesting way to run a campaign, although President Biden seemed to have mastered the basement.
Yeah, the basement
campaign. Hiding under the couch in the basement.
Yeah, because it worked for him. And you notice today, President Biden put the lid out at noon, I think, on Election Day. The President of the United States decided, I'm not saying another word.
He cannot help anybody in his party in this election.
No, I think he's harming people more than he's helping.
I think it
says something
the
when
people closest to him are harming him.
When the president 3 presidents ago is the one campaigning. Obama's going around campaigning for the Democrats because the current Democratic president is a disaster. Yeah. Not that Obama wasn't, but he was at least mentally there,
I heard Clinton was out campaigning for someone and only like 50 people showed up.
Wow.
Yeah, not terribly impressive.
That's interesting world that we live in, for
How
sure.
are the tacos?
Oh, man. I almost stayed up and let you guys finish up. Those are excellent tacos. And, we've got a studio guest here.
All right, the Warnock...
I'm going to replace my
We've got
old
cookies.
chocolate chip
What do you got
cookie
in
with this
Warnock?
nice new one.
Walker race is now down to 1 point.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
It's gotten tight.
That's encouraging.
Closing up there. It'll be interesting to see that continue
These
on.
look like fresh baked cookies also.
Thank you.
Wow.
Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, so many. We're so early. I don't know what you guys are talking about while I was gone.
Most 46%.
Any more
mostly
races?
Making fun of you.
Yeah, that's okay. That's expected. Any more declared races or anything?
Not yet.
What closes at 7? Which would be
There
9.
is a list over here.
Which will be 9 o'clock Eastern time. I would think if they're like Arizona, our polls close at 7. So our polls close in 3 minutes.
Yep.
Right.
If you ain't in line here pretty quick,
better run down and
you
get
better
line.
run
Or get to that drop box.
and let us know. Is there someone there to lock it up?
And if
right
you want
at
to know how
7
to
o'clock?
vote, text us at the
We'll
show.
tell you, yeah.
We'll tell you what to do.
I've been telling people how I vote. I'm never going to presume how you should vote, but I tell people how I vote, and I've been doing that for 4 weeks.
No, yeah, I do it too, Jeff, because a lot of people, they might be familiar with the Kerry Lake, Katie Hobbs race, but they don't know what's going on with the propositions, what's going on, who to write in for the local candidates. Some people ask, and I tell them, this is what I did.
One race that I'm anxious to watch here, and hopefully we'll get results at a little after 8 p.m., is these local school boards. What kind of change are we seeing in Flagstaff, which is one of the far left school boards in the state? It's been a train wreck, and I know some of you are dealing with that in your school boards throughout the state as well. But there's 2 candidates that are more conservative, Mindy Thomas and Gretchen Slover. Man, if they get on there, it's going to change that dynamic. Even though they won't have the majority, just having what we were talking about earlier, an opposition voice.
A little pushback.
Why don't these school boards want that opposition? Why? They're all rowing the same direction, and it's all off the falls. They should encourage that opposition, but they don't. They shut us down. They kept us out of the meetings even.
They did, and the same thing happened with the Flagstaff City Council. They extended for a long time that they were closed, that the public wasn't allowed in.
Zoom meetings,
in-person meeting, yeah.
And Zoom meeting, they just ignore what's going on in Zoom. But when you're actually in person, yelling at them, 10 feet away from where they're sitting, it makes a difference.
Well, you know what's incredible is people will stand in line to speak to the school boards or speak at city council meetings, and they give them 3 minutes, and then they shut them down, or they clear the house. They don't want to hear the opposition.
Well, you know, that's actually better than when I went to a Dallas city council meeting. They give a total of like 10 minutes for the whole opposition to speak. And if the first person uses all 10 minutes, nobody else gets to speak. At least here, every person gets 3 minutes.
All right, polls, quite a few polls closing in just about a minute here, including Arizona. We'll get those results coming at 8 o'clock, and we're going to be sticking around through that because we're going to have a lot to report, and I'm excited to see those results in just a little bit. We are going to pause for 10 seconds for station ID.
This is the Jeff Oravits Show.
And if you're, I didn't do that yet. If you're just joining us, I need to do this before 8. We do our election predictions every 2 years on the show, and Rob actually printed this out, so I will make sure this is done before 8.
This is a competition here. We're all a whole bunch of Arizona
cookies are on the line.
State races, local races, and then a few national races just to make it interesting.
So for those of us who can see on video what our sheets look like, this is not my wish list. This is what I actually think will happen.
That's a big difference.
Not how I voted, but what I expect is going to happen.
And I would encourage you to, any predictions you've got, if anyone wants to email us, talkwithjeff@icloud.com. We'll bring these back in a couple days.
So those of us in the room, the big race, I think, in Arizona is the Kelly Masters race.
Yep, sure is.
And the lake.
Yeah, but I think Kerry's got a better chance than Blake does. I think Kerry's got a bigger lead, honestly.
Blake's going to be tight, and in a little over an hour, we'll see what's coming in, where it's coming from. We'll see how Maricopa does with this 20% failure or problems and this and that. So, do we have any results coming in now that those polls closed? And now it's 9 o'clock back east, 9:01. You guys seen anything yet? We'll keep an eye on that.
Nope.
And especially what do we got here with the Warnock 49? That's tightened up.
Yep, a 1% race there now.
Yeah, Warnock. That's a lot of reporting. I mean, this is going to be super tight. This is for the Georgia Senate race.
And one of them has to get 50 or they're going to have a runoff.
Or they have a runoff, yeah. So you've got 47% reporting, over 2.2 million ballots reported. And it just keeps flipping back and forth. I'm watching it up to date on the screen. Herschel Walker, 49.15% to Warnock, 49.05%. So razor thin, super close. That's what we might be seeing with what you're talking about, Blake Masters and Mark Kelly.
Mark Kelly, yeah. I honestly, I hope Masters wins, but I honestly think Kelly's got the best shot. And that's kind of got me sad. But I'm disappointed, or not disappointed, but that I actually guessed on my sheet the wrong way. I'm guessing Kelly's going to win.
I'm disappointed in Senator Kelly because he, like several other people that have run for office this time, are capitalizing on their previous military rank.
Right.
And as a vet myself, I am offended that they are trying to use their prior military service as something more than what it was, which was it was a service to our country. It was an honor for me to serve our country in the military, and to try to capitalize for personal gain on that after the fact, to show pictures of me in uniform. There's a guy running for, I think, governor in Colorado. I'm not sure where it is, but an admiral. All the time, all his campaign ads show him in his full dress uniform. That's wrong. They shouldn't be doing that. They should be running on their own platform, their own personal beliefs, their strengths and weaknesses, and not trying to exploit their prior military service.
This Kansas race for governor got 14% reporting, and the Democrats 60.9% to the Republican 36%.
In Kansas?
But they're calling it for the Republican already.
Oh, what's going on? Yeah, what's going on there? Let's see what else we got. We're just waiting for these results. You got Scott in Vermont, Republican, ahead by a large amount, 27% being reported. I don't think any surprise there. Isn't there the New Hampshire? Where's the New Hampshire race? Do we have that
Kemp
one
is
yet?
now up 54 to 45.
Which one is that?
Kemp in Georgia. So Stacey Abrams may have some splaining to do.
Oh, yeah. Somebody just must have done a big, and now it's going back down now. You're watching it tightening back up. So super tight there.
Oh, yeah.
There's the Senate race in New Hampshire that I think is also at play. And that one, they're just starting to report. This was between, do I have this right? Hassan and Baldock?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
15% reporting. The Democrats got a lead there, but it's way too early to tell. The governor race in New Hampshire is going strongly Republican. And
he's the incumbent right now.
Yeah, and the other thing about New
Hampshire,
England is New Hampshire tends to be Republican and Vermont tends to be Democrat.
It's weird. New England's weird. Did you guys talk about the statewide ballot initiatives while
We
I
have
was
not
gone?
talked to-
Okay,
no,
let's
any of those
hit on
yet.
that as we wait, because right now we're just waiting for these results to update, and you guys keep an eye on that. So here's the list. Maybe I'll just go through this. So we got Prop 128. Which is an interesting one, and maybe I'll get Bob Thorpe's with us, who served in the legislature.
It would have given him more authority.
Yeah, this would allow the legislature to amend initiatives if the Supreme Court, the Arizona Supreme Court or the U.S. Supreme Court steps in and says, this citizen initiative has got a problem and we need to fix it. There has to be some kind of ruling. I know we've seen in the past that there's been some problems with some of these citizen initiatives, but they stay in law because the legislature can't change it. Unless they have supermajority, I think they can do it, which they'll never have. Is that how it works?
The problem is that even if you have a supermajority, that if the legislature does anything to a voter-approved initiative, it has to be in furtherance of the initiative.
Okay.
So, if it's, for example, a tax increase or something like that, the legislature, even if they disagree with it or find problems with it, the Voter Protection Act means that they would then have to, anything that they do would have to be favorable to the original intent of the legislation.
Now,
So it really, you think about it, our Constitution, our U.S. Constitution guarantees a representative form of government where you vote for a representative to pass your laws. Well, when you have an amendment process, or not an amendment process, but an initiative process, where the legislature is actually authority from the legislature is taken away, do we at that point actually have a representative form of government?
So, it's a bit of curiosity for our listeners. When Arizona became a state, we had a constitution we wanted. The federal government said, no, you got to make it more like the federal constitution. And as soon as we got accepted as a state, we went in and amended our constitution back to the way we wanted it. And citizen initiative has been an important part of our constitutional process. But we've got a few props on here that deal with the citizen initiatives, and there's a lot of problems with them. But this Prop 128, so if the Supreme Court, whether federal or state, finds one thing wrong with it, it sounds like then the legislature can amend the whole thing any which way they want.
Yeah, I'm not sure that would hold up in court. That
could be challenged if they did.
I think that would have to be very specific to the problem, amending the problem.
To what was identified by the court as
exactly.
See what happens with that. So 128. I actually supported this, but I had some hesitancy with that one. I know you were
I
leaned
initially
against this
supported, and then I changed my mind because
flip-flop.
I think it probably will end up in the courts, but the way it's written is a little too vague as to what the legislature can do, whether they have to just address that one little problem or if they can just go hog wild on the whole bill.
So there's 10 statewide initiatives everyone's voting on in Arizona. Prop 129 is the second one. Limit each initiative measure to a single subject. This should pass. I mean, this seems like common sense rather than packing it in there. Do you have a different opinion?
So the courts came out and said that when the legislature puts anything into the budget that actually becomes a law, but it's actually only a law until the next year, I believe it is, for 12 months or so, until the next budget round. So it's not a permanent law. But the courts came out and said that, no, you cannot do that. It has to be a single subject. And so what this particular proposition is saying is that an initiative brought forward by the people should mirror what the legislature's what their hands are tied to do.
Yeah, 129 is really a great rule. It stops, whether you call it pork or whatever. It's, if you got an initiative about public education funding, it shouldn't also have something in there about firefighters
and puppies,
kittens, and unicorns. Yeah,
it should just be single
unicorn farts.
Kind of like the Inflation Reduction Act.
Yes. Yeah,
Oh, my
that's
goodness.
total 1984 there.
I so wish they had this at the federal level, where one issue, just one issue.
I'm going to continue with the propositions, but real quick, the Michigan race, Whitmer, the incumbent, the worst governor in the country. 53%, 52% just moved to Dixon, Tudor Dixon. Wow. Republican, 45%. I mean, and that's only 8% reporting. So this could go. I mean, we could see a pickup there, but I
just saw that Sarah Huckabee Sanders will be the next governor of the state of Arizona.
Arizona?
Excuse me, Arizona. Arkansas. Yeah, wouldn't that be a surprise?
They called it.
Breaking news.
Those machines down there where, they put that.
Maricopa really screwed that one up.
So they're calling it?
Yep.
Okay, so Huckabee Sanders. Yeah, last I checked, that's 53%.
Prior press secretary for President Trump. She did a great job for a couple of years.
And her dad was
a really tough job.
And her dad, was he Arkansas?
Yeah.
He was dad. Her dad was governor of Arkansas as well. Okay, good. Okay, Prop 130. This had to do with property tax exemptions and veteran exemptions. Thoughts on this one?
I think it'll pass. I think I voted for it. I'd have to actually look.
Yeah, it's combining a variety of different kinds of exemptions all into one so that I
supported this one.
Administratively, it just made more sense. It's an easier thing.
And give some more exemptions. Prop 131, creating the position of lieutenant governor. I flip-flopped on this. You want that one?
I do. Absolutely.
So I flip-flopped too, Jeff. And in the end, I stuck with voting for it because if I understood Wendy Rogers and some other people that explained it, it's not really creating a new position because the lieutenant governor will be charged with the duties of an existing position, whether it's some kind of administration within
the Office of Administration.
Yeah, for example, the Department of Administration.
Yeah, okay. Which is currently appointed position.
They'd be the director. And one of the problems with what we currently have is you have a situation where you might have a Democrat as the Secretary of State, a Republican as the governor. The Republican steps down, and now you have a Democrat. So that wasn't necessarily in line with the will of the people.
So a classic example is right now, Ducey is the Republican governor. Mm-hmm. Katie Hobbs is the Democrat Secretary of State. They couldn't be more different. Mm-hmm. Suppose Ducey had a car accident, died, or just got debilitated. Mm-hmm.
Ate too much ice cream.
Ate too much ice cream.
You guys are bad.
And then all of a sudden, Katie Hobbs is our governor, and that wasn't the will of the people to have a Democratic governor.
Oh, here's good news. AOC is going to win re-election.
Oh, God.
I'm kind of happy.
She's never going to lose it. Yeah, she brings the worst.
She's so bad.
Yeah.
If they had a moderate in there, I'd be like,
is she?
Well, I've had this conversation with people on the left that, they didn't think AOC was the face of their party just a couple years ago. They still thought it was old school, traditional Democrats. And I said, no, the AOC is who's that real nutty one out of Missouri? Bush. She's another Cori Bush. Is that her name? I think.
Yeah.
And then Omar is another one. The squad,
Ilhan
basically.
Omar.
These people are they're so far left. They're so far from the even the mainstream. Even what Democrats used to be.
They're big proponents of defunding the police.
Yeah, and it's just totally out of control. They're the socialists that have ingrained themselves into the politics. Texas, Abbott, 52%. O'Rourke. The gun grabber, 46%, 33.9% reporting. Abbott should win this one, but it should be like 70-30 in Texas, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if it was the old days.
It's kind of a disappointment that Texas is slipping blue, and it's because of the big cities, especially Austin, Dallas.
This is the problem in America. The cities.
Yeah, Fox News is called Texas for Abbott.
Oh, they already called it. Okay.
Yep.
All right. And they called DeSantis, Florida.
Yeah.
For DeSantis. I don't know if you mentioned that one. That one's 59 to 40%.
So how many consecutive races has Beto O'Rourke lost now? Three or four?
Yeah, and they keep putting him up. He's made a career out of losing.
He's pretty much demonstrated that he can't win an election
Just
here.
keep going,
Despite
I guess.
huge funding benefits that he had, especially in the last two. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. We got 47 minutes till we are expecting results here in Arizona. I've got Bob Thorpe with me. I've got Mark Howitt, Rob Wilson.
Howdy.
Jerry Neighbors disappeared, and he's not counting but monitoring the election. We'll keep an eye out for him. Creating lieutenant governor, I did vote no on that, by the way, because of the bureaucracy thing, but I could live with it.
I like the idea.
I go back and forth on that one. Okay. Yeah, I'm in the minority in that one. I love Prop 132.
Oh, yeah.
It
Absolutely.
should fail miserably because I love it so much. It requires 60% vote threshold for any initiative or referendum that enacts a tax statewide.
Right.
This should be the threshold for any tax increase.
Ever.
Your property taxes, your local
all the
sales
time,
taxes, anything that has to do with money out of your pocket into the government coffers should require somewhere between 60 and 99.9% vote to enact.
Jeff, this goes back to my thing is saying, if you're not paying taxes, you shouldn't get to vote to raise taxes.
Oh yeah, but I should. I'm going to pay that sales tax, right?
We have a couple members of the Coconino supervisors that they live in districts and they represent districts that don't pay property taxes, and yet they raise taxes.
And spend them.
Yeah.
Raise and spend our property taxes.
So Bob's talking about
But
is
it doesn't have any impact on them personally or on their the
Constituents.
people that they represent.
so in Arizona, Coconino County, part of it is in the Navajo Nation
And Hopi Nation.
and Hopi Nation,
and
and
several.
they're technically nations.
Supai.
They're not under Arizona, so they don't. If you live there, you don't
They're
have to pay
sovereign
Arizona
nations.
income tax. You don't pay.
But they receive benefits from the county.
Oh yeah,
And
new roads
The state and the federal.
That's another race that I need to add to the
Very sore
list is
point.
the race for Navajo president.
Yep.
Is up for grabs as well tonight. So we'll keep an eye on that one. So yeah, I'm a yes on 132. It should fail. We'll see. I got it as a fail on my list here on my predictions list. Sorry, guys. Prop 209, increasing exemptions from all debt collection for certain personal assets. This has to do with medical debt, setting interest rates. It's a pretty complex initiative that was done that may wind up in the legislature's hands because I bet you it's really screwed up in there. But they
very
want to control the
targeted.
interest rate on debt collecting. I know you had, Mark, you and I went back and forth on text on this one
yep.
because we can get it. You can get it to a degree, I think. Did you support this thing or not? What did you ultimately do?
So I had mixed feelings about it. I ended up supporting it, and it doesn't add a lot of new stuff except the
You're
medical
not
debt
selling
part.
me here. It doesn't add a lot of new stuff.
It's really complicated.
Oh, that's all.
That's just add some new stuff.
Some new stuff. A lot of it's changing percentages. So instead of being able to take 25% of your pay towards debt collection, they can only take 10%. Medical debt, instead of taking 10%, they can only take 3%. But then within those, there's certain other thresholds that could make that low or nothing. And it's really a mixed bag. And the arguments for it were all funded by a political action group, basically.
Sure.
The arguments against were mostly chambers of commerce. And I didn't like the arguments both sides did not explain the bill well. And I read it over and over, read the legislative analysis. In the end, I decided, you know what? Credit cards, medical debt, everybody's charging people too much interest, and the poor are really held down
the
by
states
interest.
can-
Wait.
Can't- what?
Too much based on what?
Based on-
According to who?
Yeah, according to me.
And that's my problem with the whole idea of it is the government shouldn't be stepping in deciding who can charge what interest rates on which particular loans.
Well, we used to have usury laws.
Yeah.
Well, and
we still
usury
do.
we still have, and that's a little different thing. But
Okay.
picking out specific categories of types of loans that we can and cannot charge interest rates on is not the goal. Is not the duties and responsibilities of the government.
But Rob, what really pushed me over the edge on this bill, where I did vote for it, was the homestead exemption increase. So currently in Arizona, we have
Because it's going to cut your taxes, you voted for it.
no, it doesn't
No, this is to protect your home from a certain amount of.
So you have a car crash,
Yeah.
And it's not even your fault, but an uninsured driver hits you. You score all these medical bills. They medevac you to the hospital. All of a sudden, you got a $200,000 bill,
Right.
And they come after your
after the
house.
house, yeah.
And you're like, it's not even my fault. I was hit by an illegal immigrant with no insurance, and
Yeah.
they take your house away. So currently, it's $150,000 exemption on your house. They're going to move it to $400,000. In Texas, when I grew up there, and it still is the case, they've got 100% homestead exemption.
Yeah, Florida's unlimited too. That's why
And it's
OJ
never been a
moved there.
problem.
Yep.
To shield those assets. No, I actually agree with you on the homestead exemption side of this, but it was all the other stuff they threw
Yep,
in there.
it's a mixed bag.
Because I've thought about, actually, when you were down there, Bob, I thought about asking you about, hey, have you thought about increasing the homestead exemption, getting this into law? Never really pursued that. But I can see it used to be you shield some of your house, a horse and a truck, or and a shotgun or something like
I think
that.
your cows are still
Yeah,
shielded.
it's something like that. I can get that, but they should have come with just something like that and protect some very basic assets. So if disaster strikes, okay, I can shield this through the process, the bankruptcy process, whatever it may be. Which leads me to one thing real quick on a national side is Congress should have never made it so people with all the college student loan debt couldn't discharge it through the bankruptcy process. because right now you can't declare bankruptcy on that debt. It's like the only debt that you can't do that. And so now, fast forward just a few years since Congress did that, and you've got the Biden student loan debt forgiveness, which is in court. And instead of, we could have said, well, if you were really in so much trouble, we have a bankruptcy proceeding that's been around for hundreds of years that you discharge that debt through. If that's the case,
Jeff, you made a mistake. It's not the Biden student loan forgiveness. It's the Biden purchase student votes plan.
Yeah. Guys, real quick, we'll continue. So I was a no on 209. I think Mark was the only yes here. Perhaps this was the debt collection. Bob?
Yeah. No, I was actually a yes on that.
You were a yes too? Wow, you guys are surprised. Me and Rob are the mean ones.
Hardcore, yeah.
Hardcore, yeah, that's okay. Apparently with the troubles that they've been having in Maricopa County, the National GOP came in and there was a hearing just at 6:55. We missed this one to try to extend voting for 3 more hours because of the issues they had. The judge turned it down, so the polls closed at 7 p.m. So you can already see the legal kind of wranglings going on over this issue. So
now they have standing. So
yeah, they put it in and we'll see what happens. But obviously, if you were impacted by the 20% of the machines failing or whatever the heck's going on down there, I still can't grasp how this could actually happen. Okay, so we're just waiting for 8 o'clock when we're going to start seeing Carrie Lake and Blake Masters and those folks up there with election results. You guys chime in anytime if you see any changes on the national numbers.
I can tell you right now, the CNN has the Senate at 38-37 in favor of the Republicans.
Wow.
God, I hope so.
At this point right now.
Yeah, we need this bad. Okay, good. Keep an eye on those numbers. Prop 211, we're going over the 10 Arizona state propositions that we'll hopefully have numbers on here in, 40, where are we at? 40 minutes, about 40 minutes. This had to do with campaign contributions and identifying donors. I think a lot of this is PAC money and stuff that gets kind of, you give to the PAC and your name's kind of shielded from being exposed. They want to
Blue and organizations like that.
They wanted, basically what 211 does is it exposes those names of people. You have to say, yeah, Mark and I gave $100,000 to this or whatever. Mark,
I flip-flopped on this one.
And
in the end, I voted no. And here's why. I don't care. If you can't think for yourself, no matter how many millions of dollars they throw at ads, if you can't think for yourself, you shouldn't vote.
You hear 30-second spot, a 60-second spot. If you're actually making a decision off of that. Now, I'm in the 30-second and 60-second spot kind of business on the radio. But, I mean, really, you're going to learn a lot about the candidate through that. Come on. Right?
No, I think the problem is, we saw it with our Supreme Court justices where people started protesting in front of their homes and actually endangering the justices, but also endangering all the neighbors. The thing that people on the far left really want is to be able to scrutinize who you're giving money to, who you're, working against, and then coming after you personally. So I think any way that we can try to maintain privacy is extremely important. I mean, we talked.
But transparency is the key to integrity here, and not having that visibility allows. We were talking earlier about all the outside of the state money that goes into, for instance, the Kelly Masters race.
Right.
There's millions and millions of dollars are being spent from outside the state of Arizona. Should that even be allowed? Mm-hmm. But if it is allowed, and it is, shouldn't we know where it's coming from? Shouldn't we? Don't we have a right to know who's trying to influence it? Because doesn't that help inform your decision about it? And yes, you're right. I could, for $1 million, I might be able to buy, 10 million 30-second spots on radio in the state of Arizona. And that 30-second spot doesn't influence most people. But hearing that name, if it's Oravits, there's a certain number of people that are not going to be able to spell Oravits and vote for him anyway. And that's a fact. That's a proven fact.
So you're a dissenter on this.
Yeah.
You were supportive of 211.
Yeah.
I do see Rob's point because the one thing I learned about Carrie Lake, Blake Masters, is they're extremely dangerous. And we all heard the commercials
that's
over and over.
Democrats extremely dangerous.
I
It's
haven't
the
been
end
able
of
to-
democracy.
I
They're
haven't been
extremely
able to
dangerous.
sleep for weeks. It's terrible.
Carrie Lake wants to give everyone a rocket launcher. Extremely dangerous rocket launchers.
I'll sell a rocket launcher.
I know she came on and I was like, bring me the rocket launcher. You promised me a rocket launcher. Okay, so kind of split up. Well, Rob's the no one on or the yes on that
I think
one.
it'll pass, though, Jeff. I do think.
I think that one's.
Yeah.
I think that one's going to pass. Although I voted no. Prop 308 is a unicorn fluffy one, allowing any Arizona student, regardless of immigration status, to be eligible for in-state tuition if they went to high school, et cetera, lived here for the past 2 years. Let me chime in first on this one because I'm a solid.
You're the host. You get to.
Yeah, I got my call in the rank here. I am a solid no on this one.
Why though?
Well, you know what? You seal up that border, and then we can have a conversation. But you haven't done that, obviously. So we keep encouraging more and more people to come over. We have an illegal immigration invasion that's going on in this country. So you can't come to me to ask for all these waivers on things like this because of our open, porous borders. Seal it up first, then we can have adult conversations about the problems we got in this country and the things we got to deal with. But I will defer to you guys.
The
on
voters
this.
have already passed this, that they said no to this. Yeah,
they just keep bringing it back.
And so it's now come back, and so the voters get an opportunity to vote yes or no on it again. My complaint, and especially when I was down at the legislature and we were discussing this issue, is that you have an individual who is not a U.S. citizen, and they would like to claim that it wasn't their fault and they were brought here as a child. Well, if they're brought here as a child and now they're going into college, what have they done in the last 10, 12, 14 years to become a U.S. citizen? Have they done anything? But more importantly is you have somebody who is not a U.S. citizen who's able to get in-state tuition, a lower rate, but yet an actual U.S. citizen coming from California, coming from Utah, coming from Colorado, if they come here and they want to attend U of A or ASU, they have to pay the out-of-state, the higher tuition
unless
rate.
they're residency for a while, right?
So
For a period of time.
they're a citizen and they're being penalized where you have someone who is not a citizen who gets a lower rate. I think that's very unfair.
But
Okay,
Bob,
so you're no.
the requirement, though, is that they spent 2 years in an Arizona high school. So it's not quite the same as coming from
That's
California.
coming straight over from California.
But we're talking about, is there an advantage to being a U.S. citizen? And in this particular situation, if this passes, then I would say, no, there is not an advantage.
Membership has its privileges.
Somebody who is born and raised in Colorado, who then decides to attend one of our universities here, has to pay an out-of-state tuition. So I think that there's something really unfair about that.
I do, too. I mean, we're all paying, well, this is a catch-22 because we're all paying tax to support the colleges. We
are.
We subsidize the colleges. We subsidize the high schools.
Too heavily.
Yeah.
But the argument then again is going to be this person paid rent somewhere, so effectively paying property tax. They paid sales tax somewhere, so they're part of the Arizona tax system. So shouldn't they be part of the Arizona benefits?
Mm-hmm. But couldn't they have, if they've been living here for, let's say, 10, 12, 14 years, couldn't they have actually made the effort to become a U.S. citizen during that period of time?
Maybe or maybe not. And at that age point, if you came here as a 6-year-old or let's say 8, and 10 years later you graduate from high school, at 8, do you know to start your citizenship application?
At 16, maybe they could have? 17?
Maybe, I don't know. But
I'll go back to they need to fix the border problem.
There you go.
I'm not willing to have that conversation because you've left the borders wide open.
More
and
cargo containers.
yeah,
I voted against it because of similar to what you're saying, Jeff. Anything that incentivizes illegal immigration, we should not be doing.
yeah, absolutely.
And although it's a kind of remote incentive, it still is incentivizing it, and we should not do that.
I voted against it, but I put down that I think it's going to pass.
It's going to pass.
Actually, I put down all these propositions.
Not that I wanted to, but
every one of them I said pass is going to pass.
let's see. Looking at New York, which has some reporting now, 13% of the votes have come in. Hochul, the Democrat incumbent, is up 69% to Zeldin's 30%.
How many? But only 12%.
13% has been
yeah.
reported. Which was the other one that was big at play? Not Pennsylvania.
Georgia?
Georgia. Sorry. Georgia. Kemp is at 52% to Abrams 47%, with 58% reporting. So looking okay there. O'Rourke is still behind in Texas.
That hurts my feelings.
So New York is unique. I actually heard that if the Republican lost by 10% in the city of New York, they're doing fine. That the rest of the state would actually cover them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, if you even just look at Long Island, as you go on the east end of the island, it tends to be a Republican county. Where the closer you get to the city, the more Democrat it is.
Right. The rural areas tend to be far more red. And it's amazing when you look at the maps that show how counties voted throughout the United States and the red and the blue counties.
Oh, it's fascinating.
It blows your mind to see.
You can see a state that's almost totally red, but yet
Then there's Flagstaff.
Yeah, then there's a couple little pockets of blue that actually carry the day for the Democrats.
Yep.
Just amazing.
It is. So let's see. The next proposition on the list, what was the last one we did? The
That was
in-state tuition. So then 309 is the voter ID one. Requiring additional, I think it's going to require a copy of your driver's license number or part of your social security number.
That sounds racist.
Racist, yes,
Yeah.
of course, because driver's license is a racist. I guess.
Well,
Is that what you're suggesting?
No, suggesting that only Caucasians, would normally carry ID that everybody else does not.
Yeah, I just put my headset back on, so I don't even know where you guys are on that.
Oh, we're talking about
Prop
ID.
309.
Okay.
ID for.
Mail-in ballots.
Yeah, so our Democrat friends have always called that racist. That folks don't have the ability to go out and get ID.
So we've got Jerry Neighbors was listening as he was going over to the polling place to do counting the ballots, and he has a list. I guess we had some questions. Let's see if it connects here. I guess we had some questions regarding what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember the questions there?
Yeah, the drop-off box.
Drop-off.
Okay,
How
Jerry.
do they close those?
Jerry was listening. Jerry Neighbors back with us. Jerry, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so
and-
what were the questions and what are the answers? What'd you find out?
Okay. Well, Mark had a good question. He said there's a bunch of those ballot drop-off boxes that are like mailboxes outside, and he said, could you go to one of those boxes and throw your ballot in at 8:00 tonight, and would it be counted? And how do they do a cutoff on those boxes? So I just asked the elections director, and he said that there are two people, a Democrat and a Republican, that go to each one of those boxes, and there's 15 boxes scattered around in the county, and they go to that box at 7:00, and they lock up the box somehow so no more ballots can go in, and they take all the ballots out, and just like a polling place, they put them in a box and seal them up, and they both sign the seal and all of that stuff, and then bring them into the counting center.
That's good news.
So,
But do they throw away the Republican ones?
well, and Vicki Parks, who's chairman of the Coconino Republican Committee, is here, and she agreed that she has to select 15 Republicans to do that job. It's a short job, but it's an important job, so that there can be a Republican at every drop box.
So, Jerry, where did she find 15 Republicans in Flagstaff? I mean, 4 of us are here.
Well, it's over the whole
I'm an
county.
independent. I wouldn't qualify.
Likewise,
So-
actually.
So the other question was, can you, maybe vote early and then go into the polling place and vote again?
Like I did.
Or contrary, can you go to the polling place and say, gee, I never got an early ballot, or I lost my early ballot. I want to vote now, live vote. And I asked him about that, and he goes, yeah, you could do that, but that will quickly be caught. The computer is designed
Trust us.
to match all of the early voters against the polling place voter list. You have to show, check in, show ID to vote, and so they just the computer catches it and throws out the second vote.
I saw 2001 when Hal took over, though.
Yeah, is this the same computers that
Terminator.
are failing down in Maricopa County?
Yeah, we got these from Maricopa County.
We got
They
them
were
cheap.
leftovers.
They're cheap.
Well, I'm glad you were listening and were able to answer that. Go ahead, Rob.
Hey, Jerry, one other question since you're there. As those ballot boxes arrive from all these different polling locations, they're supposed to be transported by a member of each of the two different parties. There's never supposed to be a marked ballot with just a single person. And
Right.
one of the things I observed was from some of the remote locations, they were having a single poll worker take that box of ballots and bring it into the warehouse there. So if you've got somebody that can keep an eye on how many people are in the car that drives up and drops off those boxes of ballots, that would be an interesting thing to learn.
Okay, that's a question that has come up, and there are some observers that's on the other side of this building, and that's exactly what they do is check, who's bringing in those ballots from the precincts, and you're right, there's supposed to be two. The one exception to that is a single law enforcement officer, because some of these areas, I guess, are so remote and a long enough distance that they don't want two people having to drive them all in, and so they will get a highway patrolman or a sheriff.
He said
to
a
bring 'em in.
single law enforcement officer can go rather than two people.
Yes.
As long as they're a Democrat.
Rob has his doubts here. Yeah. Well,
There should never be marked ballots with a single person.
Single
period.
person,
Ever.
yeah, you
Never.
just-
It just lends itself to it destroys
change the law.
credibility.
You got to change that. I mean,
Yeah.
and the legislature
That's wrong.
tried to change a bunch of election integrity issues. Okay, Jerry, you got to.
So here's one more little interesting aspect. Havasupai, which is traditionally been the last precinct counted because they had to bring the
Helicopter
ballots up by horse and all of that. They are now the first precinct in because they are brought up they close early. It's brought up by a helicopter, and the helicopter has to fly during daylight.
Interesting.
All right.
So they're the first.
So
Yeah,
we
they're the
discriminate
first
against
ones.
them because they don't have the same number of polling hours the rest of the state does.
They don't. And
That's
there's-
right. Yeah.
must be a couple hundred votes. All right, Jerry, thank you for serving and doing the watching there. Let us
Sure,
know.
we're the only group folks on the air tonight that have a live observer in
Yeah.
the polling center.
If
That's
anything
excellent.
comes up, don't hesitate. We'll be on here till 9. So
Well, so far, there are no ballots that have come to the door.
Ah,
None of the polling places have delivered any ballots yet.
So you're saying all the ballots are missing?
that machine shredded them all.
So Jerry, just
They're
to be,
all being reviewed in cars out on the parking lot.
Jerry, just to be clear, in at least in Coconino County, none of the information is being transferred digitally from the polling places to the elections office, right?
That's correct. What happens is the counting machine, they have two counting machines here. They feed the ballots into those counting machines. Then those numbers that the counting machine comes up with are just electrically traveled to the center of the counting room, a computer at the center of the counting room, and that computer transmits to the Secretary of State.
yeah, watch how that process works. It shouldn't be on a USB stick.
Yeah,
It should be on a CD.
shouldn't be written down on a little Post-it note or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Well, Jerry, if people are a little bit bored there at this accounting center, I do have a bunch of ballots out in my trunk. I can drop them off.
Yeah. All right.
To get a head start on those.
I want to, Jerry, appreciate the update. Call us if anything else comes up that you see out there.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
All right. We'll talk with you soon.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thanks. See you later.
All right, and I want to go over a couple of these results here, guys. I got Rob Wilson with me, Mark Howitt, Bob Thorpe, Jerry Neighbors is out there in the field.
Yeah.
Observing
reporting here.
the counting. We're looking at the Georgia race. Wouldn't it be something else if we get to a point where we're all waiting as a country for a runoff election again?
That's quite possible.
It's quite possible. Georgia, Warnock, the independent, the Democrat, 49.35%. Herschel Walker, the Republican, 48.83%, with 62% reporting.
So in Georgia, remind me if I'm correct, that you have to get 50% or
Yes.
they go into a runoff.
Correct. That's happened last time. That happened 2 years ago, right? I mean, it seems like.
And so this is
forever
U.S.
ago.
Senate. This is really important. This could determine.
We
Could
could be
determine the
waiting.
balance of the power.
And that's what happened last time.
The independent right now in that race has got 1.8% of the vote.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's all it'll take.
I wanted to jump back to the governor's races here. As we're waiting, we're like, what are we, 22 minutes away from Arizona results coming in. New York, Hochul, 68%. I think Zeldin, 31%. Not looking promising there. Michigan, though, the horrible Whitmer, 52% to Dixon's 46% with 10% reporting. So
Still early.
There's a chance. Wisconsin, the incumbent's a Democrat, Evers, at 54%, the Republicans at 44%. Minnesota, same situation. Democrat Waltz is incumbent, 51%, Republicans at 44%. So, I mean, we got some really close ones.
Yeah, Minnesota especially, though. I'm showing 1% reporting. It's just
It's not very much. Yeah.
17,000 votes at this point.
Yeah. It was just in Minnesota. Minnesota's a beautiful place.
Where's the big election parties tonight? Don't the Democratic Party and the Republican Party have like a big headquarters party someplace tonight?
I do know that, what's her name?
Samaria Armstrong. Is
She was
in there?
throwing election party tonight. She's running for Sedona Mater.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think she's got a good shot.
I will be looking to that one. I endorsed her in that race to try to. She was interesting coming out of Hollywood.
Yeah.
She's an actress. She was there for a couple decades. Grew up in Sedona. Then went to Hollywood. Was in a lot of TV shows and movies.
Yep.
And actually came back and got out of there and very conservative leaning. I was surprised when I interviewed her. I didn't quite know where she was. So I hopefully that's a good change for Sedona. We shall see.
We shall see. Yeah, Sedona's a mixed bag. It's
10,000 people. I mean, it'll be small margins. So, wait, where are we on the propositions? If anyone's got a comment, talk with Jeff at iCloud.com. And also, we'll pick up the phone too, 877-9713-971. Did you do 309?
Yep, we did 309. We're on 310.
I was a yes on 309. Were you
Yes.
guys all yeses?
Yeah.
Rob?
Yep.
Okay, 310 is the 1/10% sales tax increase for rural fire districts. Let's start with Bob. Bob, you volunteered in a rural fire district a ways back, right?
This is really a tough one. If you look, for example, Highlands Fire District is where I served for 8 years. Then right down the road, you have Pinewood at Munns Park. And when you have folks that, for example, come up in the wintertime from Phoenix or elsewhere, and they get into a car crash because they, slide on the ice and things like that, it's the local fire districts that then respond to those situations, and it's the local taxpayers in those fire districts that are then subsidizing the transport and the emergency response. And so the fire districts have, especially the smaller fire districts, Strawberry Pine, I know the fire chief over there, they have a real problem being able to keep their and maintain their equipment, keep their staffing levels at where they need to be. I actually voted in support of this, not because I want to pay more taxes, but just because I truly believe that the fire districts do need the help.
Mark, you want to go on record? You voted
Absolutely no.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. It goes back to this is a statewide measure.
Yeah.
It goes back to the huge budget surplus the state has. If they need to fund these smaller fire districts, they've got the money. We don't need a new tax to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where
Does state money go to the fire district, though? I don't think it does. I don't think right now the fire districts are funded entirely by your property taxes.
But it could.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, why didn't they say, hey, we got $6 billion here?
Well, in part because that $6 billion is mostly one-time money. A lot of it's COVID emergency relief funds and things like that. So it's one-time money. You couldn't fund it that way.
But they still had a big increase in ongoing revenue.
I'm a big fan of this proposition.
Okay,
and
so you're
kind
for
of
it.
like what Bob was talking about. The responsibility that these fire districts have far exceeds the people that are paying for those resources.
So me and Mark are the bad guys.
A few years ago.
Here's the other thing, though, is
Go ahead.
that these fire districts, by law, are limited to how much they can charge in taxes to support themselves,
And how much they can increase
and how much
also.
they can increase it. The amount that they can increase it is less than what inflation has been. So they have been falling behind by law. they can't keep up because inflation has been raising their costs faster than what they can raise taxes to match that.
If I can throw out an example, I had a conversation with the fire chief at Page, and oftentimes they are leaving the city of Page and going out onto
Another nation,
the Navajo Nation, and other nations,
another country,
responding to house fires, responding to vehicle accidents, things like that.
Backing them up.
The local people within Page then pick up the tab for those responses. So, yeah, what we have right now is really a broken system.
Okay, let me be Debbie Downer here. It's just the same reason that I voted on a similar reason, the in-state tuition thing. It's because you haven't first on that one, you didn't fix the problem, which is open borders. This one, we got every government agency asking for more money. So I get why they need it, and I can sympathize with that. But every government agency's got their hand out. They got the school district with $100 million. So I've just been a strong no tax. I'm not going to vote for anything until you get your fiscal house in order. And these budgets on all these organizations, maybe not the rural firefighters, but the cities, the boards, school boards, the counties, the state government, bloated. So you just get to a point where you're sick of it. And these guys come at me at a time when I'm like, and we got inflation, and it's just a horrible time to hit me up.
Well, the good news is this expires in 20 years. So if it does pass, you only have to live with it for 20 years.
And the good news for you and Bob who are supporting this, hey, Olivia is visiting us, is pull up a chair. Hey. This is going to pass. So I think it'll pass.
I think it'll pass too. Yeah.
So you come over by
anything
me if you want.
Anything pro-firefighter almost never fails. It's just...
Arizona's got extremely high sales tax already.
Yeah.
And use tax or whatever kind. Where a lot of places are approaching
transaction privilege tax.
Transaction privilege tax. And there's a reason we don't have sales tax. It's transaction privilege tax. I'll get back to that in a minute. But, we're pushing 10% in a lot of places. And when you go out to eat, it's an extra 2%.
Yeah.
And
it's over 10% in flag with the BBB.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The BBB pushes
All right, Olivia's with us. Do you have any tacos with you, or do you have any news on who's going to win the Georgia
or are
Senate
there
race?
Still tacos upstairs?
Yeah. Anything you want to share?
I ate all the tacos.
Oh, goodness.
We are anxiously waiting what do we got, 15 minutes, guys, till I think we'll see results around 8:01, 8:02, 8:03. I don't know how this Maricopa thing's going to play in, though. Yeah. It wouldn't be surprised if we have some hiccups there.
Jeff, real quick to go back to the sales tax thing, and Bob can back me up on this, but the reason Arizona has a transaction privilege tax instead of a sales tax is because the federal government's exempt from sales tax. Mm-hmm. But when you do a transaction privilege tax, you can effectively tax the federal government. So as a contractor, if I do a federal job, I have to pay the tax on it. They can't charge the federal government. So Arizona still gets their 10% or whatever it is. And that's why we have a TPT tax.
Yeah, everybody gets their cut. Okay, we made it through all that. So that's all of them. We split on that one for the state sales tax for the rural firefighters.
How about the judges?
Well, we got some local propositions too.
Yeah,
let's 445 and
the 400s.
Yeah, we've got the city of Flagstaff has proposition 441, which is $57 million towards flood mitigation. Rob, you've dealt with flood.
I wish I lived in the city of Flagstaff and could vote no on that.
Yeah, I mean you're dealing with flood issues out.
Actually, you know what we had today because of famous Donny Park winds. Today we have sand dunes.
Oh my God!
There was so much wind today that all that dirt and debris that flowed down off the mountain is now creating sand dunes along the side of 89 in Donny Park.
Are you serious?
Wow. I am serious. It was
may have a new tourism.
It was
kind of
it was haboob like conditions
haboob
in Donny Park.
Is that what that is? The sandstorm. Yeah. $57 million. I had somebody on the program here. I can't remember who it was. That said, it was Joe Galley from the Greater Flagstaff Chamber of Commerce. He said he talked to Tom O'Halloran, who I hope will lose tonight, and Tom O'Halloran said that there's all kinds of money in that, what was that, infrastructure deal, the $1.2 trillion infrastructure deal that Congress passed that we can't afford, but they have all that money and they don't have the money, but he said there's hundreds of millions in there for flood mitigation and projects like this, and the city of Flagstaff comes out at us and asks us to fund it when there's other sources. First of all, I'm not a supporter of the $1.2 trillion infrastructure deal, but the money's out there. No on that, I assume? Yeah. Yeah.
No, and I really question the legality of this because there's a bunch of different things thrown into one proposition. And Flagstaff is under the same laws that the state is. They can't have multiple topics under one proposition. Yeah, they've got wastewater treatment, they've got storm, they've got fire suppression.
There's probably Green New Deal stuff in there.
It's just, there is in some of the, I think it's one of the other propositions, they actually have, in the affordable housing, they have Green New Deal. In the wastewater treatment plant proposition.
Proposition 442 in Flagstaff, $20 million for a housing bond. This thing is...
And there's Green New Deal in there.
Yeah, so... $20 million, who's that really helping? I mean, if you're one of the lucky ones that happens to get some kind of government taxpayer subsidized housing under this bond, okay, you could probably look at the onesie twosies type situation. But nobody, this is $20 million will not do anything to Flagstaff's housing crisis and affordability issue.
It's not going to solve the problem.
It won't even put a dent in it. You won't even notice. Mark, you're in housing.
It'll help maybe 40 people.
Yeah,
maybe 60 people,
but
it hurts everybody else.
You can't get any of that money unless you also are a legal alien getting in-state tuition.
And you're transitioning. So I was obviously a no on that, but it'll pass.
Couple race updates here. J.D. Vance is now taking a pretty sizable lead in Ohio over Ryan. So
nice.
The Republican taking charge there. And Georgia's now reporting almost 60% of the vote in, 64%. And Herschel Walker's up by a solid percent.
You got to get up more. So, yeah, wow.
Yeah, 49.6.
Yeah.
O'Rourke is still down in Texas. I keep going back to that one. New Mexico is reporting
Poor Beto.
Yeah, he'll just run again. Probably run for what's next? Has he run for Senate?
Yeah.
Has he run for president? He was on the presidential stage, wasn't he?
He challenged Cruz for Senate, and then he ran for president and lost quickly.
Unbelievable.
Now governor.
New Mexico, our neighbor. I was hoping that maybe the Republican would have a shot there. This is a Democrat state.
Talking about the governor's race here?
Yeah, governor's race between Grisham, the incumbent, who was a lockdown nut when it came to COVID. I remember when we were in New Mexico and we came out of the mountains when COVID hit, and they ordered anyone who was in the state, she ordered that you had to quarantine for like 2 weeks. I was taking a plate off.
Yeah, and then the license plate fell off or whatever you said. We got it in New Mexico, and you're like, oh my gosh, it just came back.
I took the plate off because I'm like, this is insane. It was right when COVID hit.
You were circumventing the law?
Yeah, I had to. New Mexico is a state that is one of the poorest states in the nation. You drive around and it's a tragedy, the abandoned towns you see out there if you really get into the heart of it.
We spent like 3 hours trying to look for somewhere to eat.
Oh yeah, you drive to the center of New Mexico, good luck with services. So she's run it into the ground, but it doesn't look good. Only 18% reporting, but she's up 54-42 over the Republican.
Yeah, Albuquerque's not even reporting yet. So it's Santa Fe and Los Cruces are the big ones.
We'll see what happens there. What else you guys got as we wait for results to come in? Statewide here at 8. And we can start talking about Cary Lake and Lake Masters and CD2 and all these races that we've got up at talkwithjeff.com. Pennsylvania, what's going on with Oz?
He's catching up, but there's still not very many votes in, and he's still quite a ways behind.
Okay, so Oz, you think he'll pull this one off? It's going to be, he should.
I don't know how you can believe somebody like Fetterman can be a good representative of your wishes in the Senate. I just don't, it's unfortunate he suffered a stroke, but he suffered a stroke and he hasn't recovered, and I don't know how he could possibly be an effective representative.
Yeah. And I feel for people who have that happen. And I know we've run into this before where somebody has a condition or some situation, and you look at those, say, what's best though for the people? And you're in this stage, you're having this going on. Wisconsin Senate race is really close, 51-48. Between Barnes and Johnson. So that's encouraging.
Hopefully
that's one of those
swing
ones that people are hoping will be picked up. So we'll see what happens there. Let's switch back to some of our local stuff. So the Flagstaff Unified School District is going for a bunch of money as well. What's that proposition number? Do you have that one? I lost that one.
I don't.
On my list. They're going for $100 million, I believe. In more funding to build more schools, and they're going for an override as well, another proposition. So there's two propositions on the ballot.
So 447 is a maintenance and operation budget override. which is
This is as they're losing students.
That was going to be my point. Is
actually
why are
enrollment's
they-
not technically down, but
not technically
Going to be when
Yeah.
people
Don't you
see-
think it will be with the empowerment scholarship
Absolutely,
accounts?
it's going to have a significant impact, and it's going to take a year or two to really see it, but it's going to happen.
Once people learn, they can take their kids and
Absolutely.
go anywhere with that, and that's the money. The legislature did that, where the money follows the kid to the
It
school of
isn't
their
so
choice.
much they have to learn; it's that the resources have to be provided. You can't. We didn't just all of a sudden build a whole bunch of new private schools that people can send their kids to. So those
take
resources
time.
have to be developed, and as they get developed, you're going to see more and more drain out of the public school system.
It may take 5 years. It may take 10 years. These guys are out of the public school and not going. We're not going back, right?
No.
Not going back. But Rob's right on. It's going to take years, and 5 years or 10 years, we're going to be looking at a different situation. Why would you sink $100 million into rebuilding schools at this point when you've got the existing stock of schools? And
Plus,
times are changing.
They've demonstrated they don't know how to manage school buildings effectively. I mean, how many schools have been repurposed to different things? And what's Sonawa now? It's a
that
middle
was
school or
well.
it's
That
a-
was built.
Yeah.
That was built as a high school when I was going. I went to Coconino High School. We had 3 high schools in Flagstaff, and now it's a middle school. They had to repurpose it.
yeah, and Flagstaff Middle School ended up getting rented out, just not used.
Yeah.
It was rented out to a
But
couple.
we were
Oh,
told
yeah.
as taxpayers, we have to have this new high school. We have to build this fancy new building. We're spending millions of dollars making it really look pretty, and now we don't use it.
Yeah, Jeff, you guys did the same thing we did. We put our kids in, or my one daughter in Flagstaff Christian School, and somehow they go 4 days a week, and they're done with this semester by Thanksgiving, and the education's better.
I know, right? It's like they only go 4 days, so you can have family time on the weekends. That's
Yep.
a big thing.
And we have like 2 more weeks after this, and then we're off till January.
Yeah, they're
Nice.
off at Thanksgiving and they don't go back till January. They take the entire month of December off. And you say, well, wait a second, how are they able
That'd be
to?
enough for me to put my kids in public school.
Well, yeah. How?
Is that an advantage or?
Oh, that's scary.
I guess you could have different look at this where you're like, okay, a week of Christmas vacation, 2 weeks, then 3, then 4. Wow. But it's how are they able to do that though in the less time and have higher scores and do a better job at it? It's kind of like, I mean, this is the case. For a long time, everybody worked 9 to 5, and there was, where did we pick this and said that this is in this amount of time, you're going to get this much productivity done, but some people can do the same amount in 4 hours.
And they do it for half the money that the public school does. Flagstaff Christian School does, the cost per student is roughly $7,000. The cost in the public school is roughly $14,000 per student.
Which is like how much is being wasted there.
And people talk about the ESA redirecting funds. It only takes half the funds. Only half the funds follow the student through the ESA. The other half stays there. So when Jeff pulled his 2 kids out of the public school, the public school is still getting half the money as though they're still educating his 2 children, which is just ridiculous.
So
to
for
me.
the remaining kids, it's actually a benefit.
Yeah. The
Like
public
my-
school's
They're
already getting more
there's
money.
a kid and a half worth of money to educate a kid.
That's right. Every time someone pulls their student out of public school, the public school ends up with more money, basically.
Per student.
Yep.
Per head, yeah.
And so, yeah, there's
Couple
two,
of
there's 2 propositions, 447 and 448.
they're both gonna. I think they'll pass.
No.
I voted no.
I hope
on them.
not.
Yeah,
Oh.
we'll see. We'll see what happens. I hope that we get some new school board members too. Okay, South Dakota won by, this is no surprise, Republican Kristi Noem,
Yep.
who did an
Another
excellent,
up and comer.
excellent job during the lockdowns. Not we were up there. Remember, we were out.
Yeah, I remember that. We were like astonished. We were like, oh, wow, this is awesome.
It was-
We actually have like a sane state.
It was normal in 2020, summer of 2020, when everyone was flipping out. She never buckled under that public pressure of the nuts like Fauci and folks like that. She did an excellent job. So I'm glad she won that and holds on that. Not a big surprise at all. Let's go around real quick, guys, before we get to the top of the hour
3
here.
minutes to go.
Yeah, DeSantis has won in Florida, governor, handily. Georgia, Kemp is up. For the governor's race, 53 to 45,
That's the
sizable.
Republican there. Yep.
Yeah, and the incumbent. South Carolina.
Scott won.
No, governor's
Governor.
Henry.
McMaster. Yeah, that's a shoe in there. Let's switch back to the Senate race real quick. What do you guys see on
Walker's
Herschel
up
Walker?
still by a solid point with
It's gonna
about
go to a runoff.
65 point 65, 67%.
He's at 49.7. He has to hit that 50 and some. Is it 50 exactly or 50.1 or
They have to get 50.
50.1,
Is
I
it
believe.
actual majority?
Yeah.
So 50
Well, 50
plus
plus 1.
50% plus 1.
Yes, 50 plus 1. Ohio, J.D. Vance is up by 5 points now over Tim Ryan. So the Republican is showing strong there with 60% of the vote in. Fetterman is still leading Oz in Pennsylvania, but there's only 34% of the vote in there right now. And our
Yeah, we
favorite
don't know where
governor,
that's from.
Gretchen Whitmer,
Yeah, what's going
is
on there?
still 6 points ahead of Tudor Dixon, but only 16% of the vote.
Yeah, and where's it coming from? Because you get north of what was that place with the island we went to?
Mackinac.
Mackinac Island, where the bikes are on there. Actually, it's because Bob said, "Oh, you should go to Mackinac Island."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was almost driving by. Were you from Michigan originally?
Yeah, I grew up in Ann Arbor.
Okay, so you know the beautiful the northern part is totally different than
It
the
sure is.
southern part. Should probably be separate states, but will never happen. Man, she did a horrible job there. So maybe there's a chance, but we shall see. I've got the page up because in about a minute or two, maybe we'll see some results. I finally have the Arizona Secretary of State's page up, and there's Mark Kelly and Blake Masters. And I'm hoping that we're going to have some of these results here momentarily. If you guys want to chime in, we're always looking for emails. talkwithjeff@icloud.com. That's talkwithjeff@icloud.com. Quick 10-second station ID, and we'll come back with these results. Maybe.
I'm pulling up the code.
This is the Jeff Oravits Show.
$7:59-ish. I'm a little nervous waiting for these results. It's not like we're going to know.
We're not going to know.
Yeah, but we'll have an idea. We'll at least be able to be talking about our state finally after all these hours. Masters versus Kelly, Carrie Lake, Katie Hobbs, Secretary of State, Fincham versus Adrian Fontes. I think Fincham should take that one.
So, Jeff, here's my question for you.
Go ahead.
If you could only pick one, either Masters or Lake, which one would you think is more important for you?
Lake.
That's tough.
Lake, the governor, not the
Well,
Senate?
okay, hang on a
It depends
second.
on the
Hang
rest
on.
of the
yeah.
Senate.
I was
If-
maybe too quick on that, too selfish
If
with my
Masters
state.
makes it 51,
Yeah.
then
I would say, oof. Because if you get a Democratic governor in Arizona, it's probably, you still got a Republican House and Senate, I'm assuming, at the state
Bob,
level.
do you think are we going to be we'll still be Republican House and Senate in Arizona? Do you think there's any chance of that changing? Or
I haven't seen anything in the contrary, but right now it's so slim that it makes it very difficult to get anything really accomplished down at the legislature.
I like seeing that.
This just in, Blake Masters is
Blake Masters is 59.3% to Mark Kelly at 37.9%. But that's with
1.63.
Yeah, I don't have the percentages here. Oh, here it
that's
is.
with
Yeah.
Blake's family's votes counted.
8 people. That's 40,000 Blake Masters to 25,000 Mark Kelly. But look at that, Mark Victor, 2.85%. So what will be the impact of
Carrie
that?
Lake.
Okay,
So
Carrie.
the interesting thing here is Lake is doing better than Masters by 4 percentage points.
Which is what we've talked about.
That's what we
Yeah.
predicted. Is
Yeah.
Lake was going to pull Masters across the line.
I wonder where these votes are coming from. Where this
Fincham is up
reporting.
strongly against Fontes.
And again, this is 1% reporting in Arizona. So
It's going to move quick, though. You'll see.
It's gonna move quick.
because they've tallied up until Friday. All those early ballots that came in, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of early ballots. So I mean, we're
Is
going to
that
see
what
these
we're
numbers.
seeing right here? You think?
These are all the early
Yeah.
ballots that are counting. These are not.
None of these are today's.
None of
ballots.
these are today's votes. None of these are any early ballots that got dropped off yesterday or over the weekend.
the numbers
or
are going
today.
up quick.
Yeah. So we'll keep refreshing here.
I'm refreshing on the Coconino page, and we haven't seen anything yet. So
Yeah, keep an eye on that one
I
for the
will.
mayor's race in Sedona. And Sedona's going to be a hard one. You're going to have to go to Yavapai too.
Yep.
Because Sedona's split. Attorney General Abe Hamaday, 60% to Chris Mays, the Democrat, 40%. Let's see, State Treasurer Kimberly Yee, she's going to win this handily, 65 to 34. Superintendent of Public Instruction trending those same numbers, 60% to 39% over Tom Horn over Kathy Hoffman, the incumbent.
Tom Horn.
What else we got here?
It's a name that just doesn't go away.
The encouraging thing is because these are early ballots, and the fact that the Republicans are leading on the early ballots is a good sign, because they'll definitely be leading on the in-person ballots.
Look at CD2, Congressional District 2, which is the side bigger than Pennsylvania, I might add, as far as the land area.
It's huge.
Eli Crane is up 56.3% to Tom O'Halloran, the Democrat incumbent, 43.7%. We don't have any. That's the only one reporting. So that leads me to believe either Yavapai, maybe Yavapai or Coconino reported.
Coconino hasn't reported
They haven't
anything on their
reported.
side.
This may be Yavapai. Yavapai
is
is one
Yavapai.
of. Is it Yavapai?
Yeah.
How do you? Where are you seeing that?
You got to go under details, and then it goes by county. And Yavapai is at
By county.
Yavapai was at 93%.
Oh,
reporting.
okay, you're right. Okay, so Yavapai County is the one that's reporting. I will caution everybody that is a very conservative county by far. So Yavapai County reporting on that.
Early Sedona here. Tight race, 32.2 for Samari and 33.6% for J Blau.
Is that Yavapai or Coconino?
That's Yavapai.
Okay, where most of the votes are in Yavapai for Sedona.
So do they have write-ins or what's or third?
There's 4 candidates in that party in that race.
Wow.
For mayor?
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of the other ones. Oh, I missed that.
Sandra Moriarty and Kurt Gilbeck.
Okay. It goes to show you what I know. Thanks, Sedona listeners, for correcting me on that.
Camp Verde's mayor looks like it might be D. Jenkins.
I thought that they were having one. Okay, see, I'm off on that one too. It's hard to keep track of all the races going on. There's so many.
There's a lot of small ones.
Let's see. Yavapai County reported pretty much 100%, but that does not include the people who voted today that went to the polls. That does not include the early ballots that were dropped off today. They're still going to have to go through that.
Okay, Coconino is reporting. Surprise. Supervisor Vasquez has received 100% of the votes. He was the only guy on the ballot.
He's the only one on the ballot. I hate those unopposed
races. Okay,
races.
Prop 445 is right now yes 63 to no 36 with 10,000 votes in.
Wait. That one is which one again?
445?
That's the one for
Jail district.
Oh, the jail district. It's passing?
Yes.
Okay. I expected that one to pass.
Yep.
Let me hit on a couple propositions statewide. Early results right now. Proposition 1, where's the list of what these actually are? Proposition 128. Is that the one with the language on the ballot? I want to make sure I get this right. No, this allows the legislature to amend the initiatives.
Yeah.
The yes is 33%. The no is 66% so far. Proposition 129, which is the limiting initiative measures to a single subject, is 52% yes, 47% no. Let's get to the juicy one here on the tax, sales tax. Proposition 310, this is the rural fire districts. Yes, 50%, no, 49.
Ooh.
I mean, so 50.3% to 49.7%, 480, it's almost 1 million votes being
So, Jeff,
counted
the
now.
interesting thing on these propositions, Maricopa County is already at 96% reporting.
minus
That's
the
what we're
machines.
seeing,
Yeah,
is
so
the early votes from Maricopa.
773,000 votes. So
Okay, so we got almost 1 million votes coming in, looks like. Let's go back to Blake Masters. Now this has changed. Mark Kelly's at 56.4%
To 41.
to 41%. That one gives me a little heartburn right now.
But so Kerry Lake is also down a similar amount. So and that's indicative of what votes have been counted or are being reported here. It isn't election results really, because they just reversed all of the state level candidates have just reversed their popularity, with the exception of Secretary Yee or Treasurer Yee.
Treasury, okay. Yeah, Katie Hobbs is reporting at 55%, with Kerry Lake at 44.5%. But what is the percentage of votes? What's the details on that?
on the vote type,
Yeah, if you break that down.
yeah. So we got like the Masters Kelly race, about 1/4 of the votes are early ballots, and the other, excuse me, the other 3/4 are a polling place. So they are getting some polling place.
Because
Okay.
they have scanners at the
Maybe they okay.
polling places. Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting results.
Yeah. So by
there.
county, we're seeing a lot of Maricopa rolling in, and La Paz County, but that's tiny. That's 2,000.
Okay, let's look at this one, which is maybe a little more indicative because you have the counties reporting and you're not sucking in all Maricopa County. Congressional District 2, CD2, Eli Crane's at 50.8%. and Tom O'Halloran's at 49.2%. So a razor thin, 1 point or so there.
That's still almost all early ballot on that one.
Okay, so it's going to almost be all early ballots because they got to get these ballots.
Yeah, outside of the Maricopa County digital reporting, or however they're doing that, which that is something I think everybody in this room is opposed to. Is you're not having the hand ballot brought to the main building to be counted.
Regarding the race for CD2, Eli Crane and Tom O'Halloran, I will see Coconino County has reported 28,000 votes for Coconino County. 19,000 were for Tom O'Halloran. 8,500 were for Eli Crane. To me, that's a pretty good sign for Eli Crane, quite honestly, because Coconino is the blue.
Yeah,
that is the blue county, and Eli Crane is still up. And you still have some other. Graham County still has to report. Apache County, I don't know how much impact that will have as far as the breakdown between Democrat and Republican. But Yavapai County has reported. It's interesting, though. Yavapai County, with 78,000 votes, 44,000 went for Eli Crane and 33,000 went for Tom O'Halloran. And Yavapai is a much more conservative district, but Tom O'Halloran's been there for 2 terms. He's from Sedona, I believe.
Yeah, Tom O'Halloran's been around forever. He was in the state legislature.
There's an advantage for an incumbent.
Yeah, big time.
He's been in every party, too.
He's been in every party, and he'll pull the I used to be a policeman thing, and he used to be a Republican at one point. But
he's a Republican. He was independent in the legislature, Republican, independent, then Democrat. He's gone kind of through the whole thing here. This one kind of surprises me. This is a close race for District 5, Congressional District 5, Congressman Andy Biggs, regular guest here on the program.
Strong performer in elections in the past.
Yeah, versus, and they redistrict him. It's 47. He's going against Javier Ramos Garcia, Democrats, 47.8% to 45.5%. So a close race right there. Debbie Lesko gets 100% of the votes. Congressman Gosar gets 100% of the votes. I guess going to District 9 was
They didn't have any challengers, or
they had Republican. Well, I don't think Lesko did, but Gosar did have several Republican primary challengers.
But they didn't have Democrats.
No,
Wow.
100%.
Their only name on the ballot.
Didn't even get challenged. They got in a good district. Let's go as well. But I want to keep an eye on that Biggs race.
That would be huge if he lost.
I don't think that'll happen. Let's think positive thoughts. What else you guys got? Any other statewide updates? Legislative updates? Ken Bennett for District 1 Senate. Ken Bennett was former Senate president.
And
for the same area, Prescott area,
Secretary of State,
and he was Secretary of State. Ran for governor twice. Looks like he's. I'm gonna predict he's gonna be back in there.
Yeah, he's a shoo-in, I think.
And be back in the Senate.
How about City of Flagstaff?
What do you got?
We got
some
Becky Daggett at 62%. Paul Deasy with 37%.
Wow, that's exactly what I predicted on my sheet. I said Becky Daggett by 62.
No, let me see your sheet. Right here, is that in pencil?
That's right there in red ink.
I predicted that Deasy was going to pull an upset, but that doesn't.
About 12,000 votes in. So
that's not looking promising for Deasy.
No.
Maybe former Mayor Jerry Neighbors will be proven wrong as far as no incumbent has ever lost their first term.
Well, Becky is essentially, she's been with Flagstaff, Friends of Flagstaff Future forever. She's been an incumbent person.
Yeah.
So on the council, as you guys may have predicted, the 2 actual candidates on the ballot both have strong showing here. 62% of the votes for Austin Aslan, and Lori Matthews has got 37%. The write-ins aren't reporting anything right now because they're all going to have to be hand counted.
That'll be days. That'll be days, right? Yep. So we'll find out about that hopefully by the end of the week. But those 2 will be shooting. How many votes was that again?
About 14,000.
For each of them, I'm saying.
9,000 for Aslan and 5,500 for Matthews.
So we will have in Flagstaff at least one conservative representative on the city council, because it is highly improbable that the write-in candidates
are going to get more than 5,500.
And it'll be more.
Well, there's 4 spots that they're filling.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens with that. Senator Wendy Rogers, if you're listening, Senator Rogers, I know you listen to the show. You're welcome to call in. We'd love to hear from you. 56% of the votes, leading in a big way against Kyle Nitschke, Democrats. So I fully expect her to be in the legislature and get back in there. What else we got?
Flagstaff Unified School District.
Yeah, hang on. Let me get my checkbook. Let me get my wallet out because I
Anytime
know.
you say that word, it must mean
They
you
only
owe
take
somebody
cash.
money, right?
Ay.
Christine Pavlik is in the lead right now with 30%. Eric Sather is right after him.
Give me one.
Michelle Thomas is right after that. Holly Jones, and followed in last place right now by Gretchen Slover.
So you're saying there's a chance that we could maybe have one conservative voice on a school board? Maybe. How close?
You would hope
Very
so,
close.
wouldn't you?
Wow.
We shall see. Now, how close is Mindy Thomas to the second place position? Because there's two. They're filling two slots.
She's in third spot right now.
What's the
She's
vote
got
count?
4,300 votes. Second place is 6,500 votes.
Ooh. Okay. I was going to say, if it was real close, it would trend with the people voting on election day.
Yeah.
Might be a little more conservative, but it's tough. Flagstaff's such a leftist, liberal city that it's hard to change that. What about have you seen anything on the proposition for the money?
Flagstaff Unified School District Proposition 447 right now is running it yes for 66%.
Oh, okay,
Let's
good.
give
We
them
can
more
spend
money.
more
Yes.
money. More money.
So the
yeah.
budget
Okay.
override.
Great.
And Proposition 448, the special bond election, another $100 million. Yes, 62.9%.
Okay, so we're doomed on there. Okay, that's expected.
Yeah.
Plus, as we were talking with Joe Galley from the Greater Flagstaff Chamber like a week ago, he said that the city of Flagstaff's looking at doing a stormwater fee increase of 300%. So it's just, they're all about affordable housing. So that's why they want to raise everything up and make it much more expensive. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's check on the federal races here. Let me check on Mark Kelly. You got Mark Kelly, 56.4%. That's holding the same at 41%. So waiting for more info on that. I'm a little nervous about that one.
Yeah, I honestly think Kelly's going to win. I don't want that.
Is that what your prediction?
That's my prediction. He's just much
He's
more
smooth.
Yeah, he's polished.
Politician.
Yep.
Smooth. I have Blake Masters on there. I'm still holding out hope. What about Carrie Lake? That's holding the same amount. We're waiting.
Katie Hobbs had better not win. That would be scary.
She's up.
So we've got the
King
city
hat.
propositions now. Proposition 441,
Okay.
which would give the city another $20 million, or no, $58 million in stormwater. 78% of the people are in favor of that.
Okay.
Proposition 442, $20 million to the city council. 65% of the people are in favor of that. So the city of Flagstaff checkbook just got lots bigger with your tax dollars.
Yeah. Well, thanks, everyone. Appreciate
Let's hope
that.
they're well spent.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes. Okay. Sedona Mayor, you got an update on that?
Had it until I just clicked there. Stand by.
I'm checking all these out. We're going. If you guys have anything you want to add, go ahead and email talkwithjeff@icloud.com as we look at Arizona election results. Here with Bob Thorpe took off, I think, to get another cookie. Mark Howitt, Rob Wilson, Olivia's here as well.
Scott Jablow in Sedona is up quite a bit right now. But, I mean, we're talking 692 versus 367 votes. So it's got a ways to go before we can really.
Can I pick some winners?
Yeah.
It's still very early, folks.
It's too early on
Don't
that
get
one.
discouraged. I'm going to check the Senate race nationally while you guys monitor the local races. Looking at Georgia, it's still locked at 49 to 48%. This is within a half a point now for the Senate race
Still
in
Walker?
Georgia. Yeah, Walker by
Half a
point, yeah, or something like that. Let's see here. What else do we got? So this could all still change rapidly. Pennsylvania, Fetterman is up still 51 to 45 over Oz.
Wow. What percent reporting?
About 45.
45%. 45%.
Thought that would start to close up better.
Wisconsin is super close. Ron Johnson 49%. Barnes 50.9%. A super close race there. What other ones we got that we've been kind of eyeballing here? So we'll see. Back to Arizona. I don't know how much these are going to update. You know, how much more did they get in Arizona? I mean, what are they getting in right now? You know, at this point.
Yeah, there's not a lot. It's going to be a while before we get a significant amount in Arizona. But I'm also looking at the North Carolina Senate race. It's 50 to 47%. It's looking like it's going to be Republican, but it's something to watch.
Is that a pickup? I'm not sure who's on that one right now. in North Carolina. Well, that's a Republican right now.
Yeah,
I
that's
believe.
Ted Budd
Okay.
versus
Okay.
Sherry Beasley.
All right, so we'll see what happens with that one. Switching to the governor's races, obviously here in Arizona we're waiting, but we've got Kari Lake behind right now.
44 to 55.
44 to 55 with 37% reporting. I think that will change, so we'll continue to watch that. Hochul is going to win this in New York if they haven't declared it already, 31%. And then the governor's race in New Hampshire. Sununu looks like up 55 to 42, so
Republican
that's
there.
good. Republican there. What's the House makeup?
Surprisingly,
Who's following this?
the Republican in Vermont's doing well too. So
Yeah,
could be a
okay.
Republican governor there.
Could be there.
Right now, the House is at 147 for the Republicans and 83 for the Democrats. So there's a lot of close races not being called yet, not being reported. The Senate right now is dead even at 40.
40 free. Well,
40 each.
yeah, I'm showing 41 now for the GOP.
Okay.
But this thing is going to be constantly moving through the night as
It'll be a long night.
more votes come in.
And I remind people with like Kari Lake when we went to bed.
Oh yeah, I was discouraged.
She was behind then. She wasn't behind by this much yet at this point, but there's still reporting that'll happen. We'll see more ballots coming in at 9 and 10. But then, I don't know. I thought the numbers would be a lot closer with the early ballots reporting. Your thoughts, Rob?
I'm cautiously optimistic yet.
He's an optimist.
There's so many unknowns out here still. It's so hard to know what we are seeing, what we're not, what's going to change. I'm going to tomorrow morning I will have a better idea of how I feel.
Let's look at the Corporation Commission. You've got right now the two Democrats up. So I think we're going to, you know what, I should probably, you guys look at some results. I'm going to text George Califf, who's with Data Orbital, and see if he's got any insight as to what's being reported, because I think he could probably bring some valuable information. What's going on with Biggs race and maybe a couple of the other ones?
Yeah, the big thing we're noticing statewide is, Yavapai quickly reported a bunch of votes. Maricopa's reporting a lot. Pima County, which is Tucson, is reporting nothing.
See, that's concerning because that's like Coconino County.
Yeah,
That's
heavily Democrat.
Yeah, heavily Democrat. And that's a little bit concerning there. Idaho, we could have.
But I mean, other places. So there's some interesting things around the state, like Apache County, traditionally Democrat, went Republican the last election. And so that could be, who knows where that'll land. Coconino County, still not reporting much. We're obviously kind of a Democrat stronghold, but Maricopa County is where most of the votes are, and Lake is trailing there badly right now.
In Maricopa, yeah.
Maricopa,
yeah.
yep.
I wonder what's going on with the 20% though, that issue, how that's been resolved. I haven't seen much on that in the past couple of hours. Yep. Propositions, we kind of started on that. Let's see, Prop 129 is leading right now. That's the one with the limiting the measures to a single item. Prop 130. Is this my tax one?
This
is the veteran tax
yeah.
exemption. That is leading in a big way. I expect that'll pass. Proposition 131, creating the office of Lieutenant Governor, is actually up significantly.
Yeah, that's doing well.
54 to 45.
Yep.
Proposition 132, which is the one that would limit the sales tax initiatives, has to get 60% of threshold of the vote. Of course, that's down. Maybe that'll change, but
how could people not vote for that? Why would you not want the majority of the people to have to agree to cost you more money? How do you not vote yes on that?
I don't know. We're living in a country where people are getting so much air quote free money that so many people are in the dole at this point that it's all magic money, I guess. Prop 209. This is the debt collection one that you guys were really talking about. This one is...
it's passing easily.
It's passing right now, 75% to 25% approximately.
Yeah, it'll pass.
I think that'll pass overwhelmingly. 211, George Califf from Data Orbital just texted me, says it's way too early.
It is way too early. But some of these propositions, I think 211 is going to pass. That's the one about campaign money disclosure, basically, saying where the money's coming from.
Yeah, okay. 308. This is the in-state tuition thing.
Yeah,
54 to 45 now.
If an illegal
passing
alien's child, illegal child, was here in Flagstaff High School or whatever high school in state for 2 years, and they get in-state college tuition if this passes.
Proposition 309, voter ID is failing as of right now.
Voter ID for mail-in ballots.
Yep.
Okay, that's failing. Prop 310. I think this one's going to go down, guys.
The fire districts.
And here's why. George Califf just texted me from Data Orbital saying there's a lot of rural reporting that still needs to happen.
Yep.
And rural reporting tends to be more conservative leaning.
Yep.
But then this is a rural fire district issue, Prop 310. But it's ahead 50 to 49.
They look at these brand new firehouses and they're like, "Hey, we just bought these guys brand new firehouses. Why do they need more
money?" You guys are going to start debating
no,
this
that's
one
the
again.
city of Flagstaff that built
even
brand
Summit.
new.
Well, Flagstaff built all new ones, but Summit
Built one.
They have a lot of community rooms in a lot of places. Yeah. So, okay. So any updates on the city, or is it stagnating?
Let me go back there just a second.
And we're looking at the federal races too. Just no movement so far on the Kelly Masters race.
The two propositions for the city of Flagstaff are both going to pass, and they're so far
I give up on that. The one shining light that I see for Flagstaff is that we'll have one representative there at a minimum to call on, but that's it.
Here's the discouraging thing. So the write-in votes are starting to trickle in for Flagstaff. And so
they actually have reporting some of those?
Yeah, so Kara House, who's actually on council right now because she was appointed, she's the top vote getter, followed by Deborah Harris, and then Regina Salas is third, and Kevin Dobie is fourth.
What's the numbers?
Significant for Kara House, 3,443.
Okay, so she's going to wind up.
Kevin Dobie's down at 521. But and if you pass that 1,600 vote threshold, then you actually qualify to actually get to the position. So if you're a write-in candidate and you still don't get 1,600 votes, you're not automatically in.
Oh, you don't even, you won't even register. Okay, I see.
And Daggett is still well ahead of Deasy, 2-1.
Yeah, that's probably done. I wouldn't want to make an official call here because there's still stuff out there. But
do I get a special prize for predicting the percentage? It's still at 62.
Yeah, did you get that one? I didn't do percentages. I didn't know we were supposed to, but I thought that DZ may pull off an upset. It was an outside chance. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I was off on that. I shouldn't go to Vegas or anything like that.
So the Yavapai votes for Sedona mayor have Samari and Jablo. Is it Samari Armstrong?
Samari Armstrong, yeah.
So Armstrong is right now just 1 point behind Jablo.
That's an expensive race. I think she was, I want to say $80,000, $90,000.
Yeah.
In that race for a small town.
So the Yavapai vote's going to be most of it. The part of Coconino that is Sedona is smaller, if I remember correctly.
It's very small. Yeah. Yeah. And Yavapai, I don't know. Sedona's kind of a weird town as far as the political makeup. It could go. It's an interesting politics. It's up there with Flagstaff, I would say.
Bob's back in the room, and Bob is, when are we going to redraw the county lines? I mean, Sedona's split by two counties.
Split in half.
And Coconino County spans part of two nations, three nations in the United States of America, the Navajo Nation and the Hopi Nation. And I just don't get it.
It's funny that there's a number of people in Flagstaff that wanted to be aligned with the Navajo Nation. And so I can't see, for example, their representation down at the legislature really working in their advantage.
Yeah. And there was even push by the Navajos themselves to realign the counties to have just a Navajo county.
Yeah.
Right.
And it helps them with federal funds that come directly to them. And
sure.
Yep.
And then there's the county and the way they did their redistricting, where the county supervisors assigned people to redistrict, and then approved what they submitted. So you work for me.
A little circular.
You may want to draw a district that's favorable to me because I'm going to have to approve it anyway.
Yep.
And
it's terrible.
A big chunk of Donny Park that used to have a representative is now part of the district up on the reservation.
The other thing that's passing right now is the Prop 445, which is the jail district.
Jail tax, yeah.
And, the sheriff is for this. I understand that they need the money, but I, again, voted no because take the money from somewhere else in the county and pay for the jail that way. Why have a special jail tax?
Well, because we always have. And where are you going to get $20 million?
Right. But still.
Where would you get that? That's the question. Where are you going to get it, Mark?
All the
lottery.
Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah. Somebody in California has that
How do
money
I
to
say this
spare
correctly?
right now.
I did
'cause they
take a
just won
cookie break, sorry.
1.7 or 9
All the
billion
jurisdictions are budget heavy right now.
right now.
Right now.
And if this is one-time money, we got to you can't just count on that always being there.
Yep.
I did support the jail tax.
Did you?
But because it's the
I wouldn't have.
you wouldn't have?
I don't really know much about it, but just listening.
She just any tax issue. Olivia
just
is
automatic-
not.
Yeah.
no
By
tax.
state law, the county has
God
to have a
bless her.
jail.
Yeah.
The state requires the county to have a jail and provide those jail services to the jurisdictions within the county. So we have to fund and pay for a jail. Right now, the majority of it is paid for by the jail tax. And that's what was
Well,
being
that's been the
renewed.
funding mechanism for the past 20. I'd Sheriff Driscoll on. It's been the funding mechanism for a long time. I get the argument though because I've made it myself on all these. Why don't you fund these other issues? We're talking about new taxes, and we're creating a new tax for this and that. And me and Rob disagree on the rural fire district tax. But that's my kind of thinking behind that. We do need a jail though.
Well, all right. What about this concept? Once you're convicted of a crime, why isn't there a fee? That's jail fee on there.
How are they going to pay it? They're in jail.
License plates.
Well, a lot of
they're still eating. Don't they have to pay for their own food?
No.
No, that's all taxpayer funded.
it's all taxpayer. We spend a little over $100, $102.
That's what Driscoll said. Yeah, it was about
day.
$100 per day.
Per person
Per
in the
inmate.
jail. And so a lot of the people in the jail are DWIs. They have jobs. They got drunk. They drove. When
Well,
they're
that
convicted-
that should be recouped
As part of the fine.
as
Right.
part of the fine. Yeah, you were in here for 5 days because you did something really
you owe us
stupid.
$510.
Isn't
Pay up.
that the pro? And maybe Jerry's probably watching the votes coming in, but isn't that the process when you go to court at this point and you're convicted of something that you have a restitution that you have to pay back?
I don't think there's a full. There's usually
should
some
be.
kind
It's
of court costs
restitution to
and
the
stuff,
victim and that kind of thing. It
Yeah,
isn't
But not the restitution.
jail.
Well, taxpayers are the victim too.
well, ultimately
in addition,
they are.
Yeah. In addition,
And that $100 a day is actually a really good deal. That's about $36,000 a year for our county jail.
Jeff.
If you're in state prison right now, it's
Oh.
like $70,000.
it's like
So
shipping
twice
containers
that.
on the border.
I've got
yeah.
the solution.
$200 a day.
Yeah.
Let's move away from the jail system and go back to floggings. It costs the taxpayer nothing. I mean, come on.
Public floggings, right?
Indentured.
What was that movie we
Town
watched
Square.
recently with the
Indentured
Brother?
servitude, flogging, this sort of thing. You know,
Oh, brother, where art thou? And they have the chain gang. You know, they're cracking
Yeah.
the rocks and stuff like that. I see a lot of prisoners out there working. The state definitely utilizes that. The prisoners working on various
Prisoners
projects and things like
filled hundreds of thousands of sandbags that were used out in Donny Park
True.
to help
So-
with the flooding. So
Bob, here's
30
a funny
cents an hour.
story. So when I worked down at the legislature, one of the interns there was like, she's like, it's such a shame that they make the gardeners dress in those big, bright orange
that. Oh,
uniforms.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason they're in orange.
Yep. They're prisoners.
Yeah, and they're taking
Find
care of
them
the
if they run
grounds.
away.
I'd go
Yeah.
out of my way to say hi to them.
Yeah.
You know, ask
They're
them how
not-
they're doing.
The ones they let out to do those sort of things are the
Nonviolent.
non-violent, non-dangerous.
yeah, the jail tax is passing at 63% right now. So I think that's
That'll
Yeah,
pass.
that's
That'll
gonna
pass.
looking pretty solid.
Georgia on my mind. Walker 49.4%, Warnock 48.58% with 71% reporting.
Wow.
I'm telling you, this is going to be a runoff again. The country's going to be in a pause for. Didn't it take weeks or months last time? I can't remember.
Yeah, they have to have another election.
Yeah, so that's a big process right there. Can you imagine, please?
It'll take months.
Don't let that happen. Pennsylvania, Oz is down 46, almost 47 to 51. Not huge amount,
huge.
but
But still, it's hard to believe.
so it's getting later. It's 50% reporting at this point. What were some of the other swing
He's
ones?
down, 4%? Yeah.
Yeah, Wisconsin's really close. We're talking 0.2% between the Democrat who's leading 50.1 versus 49.9. I mean, that's a close one.
Michigan governor's tightening up a little bit. It's only a 4-point race there now.
Yeah, that'd be a
with
great night if she
22%.
was gone. If she stays, it's just like Gavin Newsom who beat the recall.
Yeah.
And, his reward for eating at the laundry, the French laundry, while
Yep.
people are locked down. It's like no consequences. So governors, we've got the, I lost this one. What's going on in South Carolina?
South Carolina, they're calling it for Henry.
Or I'm sorry, Georgia, the Abrams.
Kemp is still up by, 8%, 9%.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I think Abrams
I'm
is
guessing
gonna-
they're probably going to call that one.
Yeah,
pretty
Abrams
soon.
is going to tank. I wonder if she's going to blame it on this time. So we'll see.
Well,
Here in
she's already
Arizona,
been blaming it.
God, in Arizona, we're still holding.
It's voter suppression. It was Jim Crow 2.0 that caused all that.
And then people stop listening to these people.
Despite
that just,
the fact that they've had record voter turnout.
Yeah, give me a break.
A
You know,
midterm
if you
election.
lose 2 times, it's like maybe just people don't want you in office, and you just have to own up to that and say they didn't like me. Still Hobbs up 55 to, let's call it 45.
Yep.
With approximately 39-40% reporting here in Arizona.
You know, this is going to be like people back in the last election when there seemed to be so much enthusiasm and energy for President Trump to be reelected. And then, you know, a couple days later, look what we found. And is this going to be what we see with the Hobbs Lake election, where all the enthusiasm, all the trending, all was going positive, everything looked so great. And then that last suitcase full of ballots shows up, and
I hope that's not the case. I'm concerned. I'm not going to lie to you on that race.
No, and Pima's still reporting nothing.
Yeah, Pima's a big drop, but then George Caleb says a lot of rural still has to come in. But I mean, Maricopa County is a huge 5.5 million people in Maricopa County have a state of 7.5 million, and they've got a lot of reporting that's going on there. So we'll see what happens there. Any movement on any of the other races before we wrapping up here in the next 20 minutes or so? So keep an eye on all those. If you folks got any comments, we're checking email, talkwithjeff@icloud.com, and watching these results coming in. And
the audience has been awful quiet here. We need some feedback.
Really quiet.
I'm just
Is
looking at
anybody
these,
out
Probably
there?
eating their cookies.
you know, all the tight
Sleeping.
races, you know, for Senate are the ones that are really going to make a big difference. That the Republicans have to take the Senate, and so you got Herschel Walker, slight edge in Georgia. You got John Kennedy, looks like, you know, going to take Louisiana. Ohio, you've got Vance. It's really hard to say. Right now, they're calling 41 seats for the GOP, 40 for the Democrats. That leaves 19 seats that they're not calling yet.
Yeah, Bob, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
What does our state look like? And I'm going to be optimistic that there's still a lot of votes out there, and a lot of the stuff that happened today in the polling location stuff, there's a lot of stuff to be counted. This is not most of the people who voted today yet that went to the poll and actually checked. So that's a lot that we got to keep in mind. But if we were in a scenario where the legislature stays Republican, House and Senate, and then we have if you had a Democrat governor, I mean, what's that look like? Did you have to operate at that at all, or were you always with the Republican governor?
Jan Brewer, I served under her at the very beginning, I think for 2 years. And I don't know if you remember, but she basically got a bunch of Republicans and Democrats to push through Medicaid expansion. And so, you know, she was pushing things to get more federal dollars in the state, even though the conservatives like me were completely against it. So she kind of railroaded us. With Hobbs, I've actually served with Hobbs, and
When she was in the Senate or the House?
She was actually in the House for, I don't even remember, a couple of years while I was there, and then she went over to the Senate. She's really a hard-nosed liberal, so she will push her agenda. And, you know, the biggest problems is if you have a narrow, control of the House and the Senate,
Like we've had.
by Republicans.
Yeah.
Then you have a few in the Republican Party. They're kind of we refer to as squishies.
The rhinos.
Yeah, they're hard to get them to go along with the conservative platform, and so then, you know, if she's making deals with them. And they switch over and start supporting some of the bills that the Democrats are pushing through, then we have some real problems.
Well, let's hope it doesn't come to that, and probably won't be able to analyze this until tomorrow's show. But what does the Arizona legislature look like come tomorrow? Because it was 31 to 29, 31 Republicans, 29 Democrats, and the Senate, I believe, was 17 to 13. So super close. So yeah, those deals start getting made, and then all of a sudden you get a few of the rhinos to come over and they start pushing through. Right. That's how they got this bloated budget, because the harder line conservatives are saying, we want cuts. So, Bowers, who's Speaker of the House, they basically went over to the other side, and they brought the rhinos and the Democrats together, and we get a $6 billion bloat. Right. Basically overnight. Okay. You guys seen anything else? Anything moving?
Not moving.
No.
The Senate race is still tied 40-40 on the polling that I'm seeing. The state level races haven't been updating as we've been talking here lately.
So everything's kind of holding there. We've got Congressman Andy Biggs, still 47.8 to 45.5%. I don't know if we may have one pickup in the state, assuming that Biggs holds on. Obviously, Lesko and Paul Gosar are going to hold on because they have no challengers. Right now, we just have, and then what's going on with Schweikert? We have results on him. He had kind of a tough race. Where'd that go?
Let me look. Federal.
I lost him here. Bear with us, folks, as we sift through all these.
Crane is still up 50.
Yeah, Crane is still. I'm really encouraged by that one. So Eli Crane, very encouraging here, especially considering that Coconino has reported.
Andy Biggs is up now 47 to 45.
Okay, so that's good. Schweikert is actually. Okay, so Schweikert is really down at this point. So Schweikert's the incumbent Republican, but then he had a lot of challenges, a lot of issues. And redistricting happened. So we could see a situation where this so-called red state, out of 9 representatives, may be looking at still just having 4 of the 9 representatives actually Republican. If you lose Schweikert and you pick up Eli Crane, we could be in a situation here where we're in the same dang thing, the same boat as when we started this whole process. Still,
the names have changed, but the
seats are just pushing seats around a little bit. Still, Blake Masters still down 39. Let's call it 40, close to 40% to 58%. I don't know the breakdown of where these are coming from, though.
We'll have to watch these because I was just looking at the legislature, and the state Senate is leaning heavily Democrat based on the results, but we know that's not going to happen.
I think we're going to see some massive changes as the night progresses.
Yeah, because we're only showing 11 Republicans out of what should be 16 or 17 wins.
Yeah, so I would just hang tight and remain optimistic on this because...
My experience, Jeff, is oftentimes I would go to bed the night of the election and...
You're depressed?
Well, no, it just wasn't clear whether I'd won or not until the next morning.
Yeah.
Jeff, odds are, you'll be on the show tomorrow.
And won't know.
We'll
still be like, hey, I wonder what's going on in Maricopa County.
Glad we stayed up last night on that live broadcast because we still don't know
anything.
We still
don't know anything, but Maricopa County is reporting, they're saying 96.58% of precincts reporting. But again, those early ballots, those are the ones that came in through Friday, I believe, maybe into the weekend. I think Friday was the cutoff. So you still have a pile of all those people that returned their ballots. A lot of conservatives, quite frankly. So these numbers, it's way too early to tell on that. There's some counties that haven't reported anything. Apache. Let's see.
That's the only one right now.
That
Apache
zero, but some have really. Coconino
some
County
is very low. Yeah. So there's still a lot. In Coconino County, you got to keep in mind, largest geographical landmass or county. Second largest in the nation. And how many people we got? 160,000 maybe?
I'll find out.
Something like that.
Yeah.
In something that's the second largest county.
Yeah.
In the nation. What's first? Orange County?
San Bernardino, I think.
Yeah, or Riverside, San Bernardino.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's Riverside, isn't it?
Is that the name of the, I don't remember what the name of the county
is. Or is it San Bernardino? It might be.
2021 population was 145.
Yeah, 145,000, of which about 100,000 are in the Flagstaff greater area.
Yeah, the greater metropolitan Flagstaff area.
That's right. Which the city of Flagstaff really hasn't grown that much since I've been here. It's
76,000 right now.
Yeah, and I think it was in the 68 range when I moved here 20-some years ago.
I was really surprised that we didn't pick up a 10th congressional seat in Arizona at the last census.
It had to have been close.
It had to have been very close, which leads me to believe that 10 years from now, pick up the 10th, you could be picking up an 11th.
Yeah.
In that situation because it was so close and the population is growing.
With the way people are fleeing California.
Governor's race, back to that. Wisconsin, the Democrat incumbent is still up 51 to 47. And then you've got the Kemp-Abrams race. still kind of not moving now. Kemp way up 10
With
points up.
72% in.
Yeah, I think that, have they called that one
They
yet?
haven't called it, but
O'Rourke still down in Texas. The
they've
gun
called
grabber.
Texas.
Yeah, did they call Texas?
They
I
have.
just like to mention it.
But we can
'cause
keep mentioning it.
it's just fun to mention. New Mexico still looks like Grisham is 56% reporting. She's still up by like 10 points. So New Mexico will continue to be mired in leftist, third most poverty-stricken state, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
Top three, I think, is what we've seen before.
Michigan's not looking much better. Still a 6% spread there with only 25% of the vote count.
Is that Whitmer? You're talking about
Yeah.
the Whitmer race? Okay.
Yeah.
Senate races. I'm flipping over here. It keeps flipping the map on me here. Looking at Walker and Warnock still holding 49 to 48%, still below the threshold to have that
To have runoff
It's
election.
runoff election.
It's painful.
It is painful. We could be waiting on that. The good news is, we should be. I haven't seen a report on the House, but we should be the Republicans should be picking that up, and creating that divided government.
Hopefully.
Going forward.
Hopefully.
I think on the House side, yeah, but the Senate, we could be waiting for this runoff election. We'll wait and see.
Even if we just get the House and just stop the madness that's been being pushed through, that'll be a big, big benefit. And it's just putting the country in a stalemate for 2 more years until we get to the next general.
Let's go over a couple other things here. We got about 15 minutes left before we leave you folks for the night. Looking at the statewide races once again. Rob, you've got the ballot. I got the ballot initiatives up here. It looks like some of these we don't know. I guess we just don't know because there's so many votes still have to come in. But some of them, like Proposition 211, which is the identifying the donors one that I think you were supportive of, Rob?
Was not.
You were not. Who was supportive?
No, you were.
You were?
We're going to check
This
the
was-
recording. This is the where the money came from.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
We've got to check the tape. I think this one's up 76%. This one struck a chord with people to, if you give to
transparency.
PACs and the transparency issue, even though, I don't know, I argued, and I think people have argued the freedom of speech issue, and I guess you can still have freedom of speech, but now you're probably going to have to identify.
Yeah.
Some people counter-argued that causes people not to want to give. And
People already give, and
Yeah,
your name is
that's true.
already listed in lots of other places. And we're not seeing, masses of people burning down other people's homes because of their political contributions. I don't think I hope that's not going to start.
We have seen people get fired from jobs, especially at the higher level.
that's been the concern is,
Yeah. So what was that guy?
Oh, Bob, you gave to this person.
Mozilla founder.
Okay.
Yeah, he ended up getting fired because he gave to some conservative causes.
See, that should never happen. I
Yeah.
would never, you want to give to what you want to give to. I don't care if that's you do a good job.
Yep.
That's fine. Prop 209 is another one that's ahead by 75% with still a lot of votes out there. But this is the one that is the debt collection, which again struck a chord with people, I guess. It's not, I'm not saying it's passed, but come on, this looks
passed.
Yeah, this thing is probably
I'll
passed.
call that one. It's passed.
Yeah, so that one is these are I think those are the two that are really, really far ahead. That I think it's almost impossible for it to change. The only other one that's kind of far ahead is the property tax exemptions for veterans and consolidating, 64% to 35%. So
Prop 130,
yeah, Prop 130. The rest are, except for Prop 128 on the opposite end is a no by 67%. So far, I don't see that one changing. That's Prop 128, which is the initiative allowing the legislature to amend initiatives. That did not go over well. Wait,
that was the one where they could change.
Yeah, they could change a statewide initiative that citizens put out.
They could fix something that had error
They could
or problems.
fix, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I
turn
would
it
have
upside
said
down.
definitely no.
It was poorly written, and I flip-flopped on that one. I was a yes, and I switched to no.
That was
But,
the legislature that pushed that, I think. It was
Yeah, I'm sure.
A legislative
Yeah, sure.
initiative, yeah. So that's pretty. What about any movement on the city elections? Let's just recap all these real quick before we run out of time. Why don't you guys look up the Flagstaff race, the Sedona race? I'll look at the legislative races once again. and see where we're at there. Ken Bennett he'll sail in as senator once again, state senator. I don't see it. And then Senator Wendy Rogers, she'll sail in as state senator once again as well. Nothing's final yet, but I'm predicting.
So Flagstaff mayor, it's going to be Becky Daggett. I think that's a pretty obvious one.
What's the percentages on
it's
that?
Still
high?
62.
They haven't changed.
They haven't changed, but I think it'll stick at around 62% for Becky. The bigger issue is the city council. Obviously, the two that are on the ballot, Austin Aslan and Lori Matthews, will be in automatically. But then, or I should say maybe automatically. But Kara House and Deborah Harris are write-ins that are doing really well. Over 3,000 for Kara House and almost 3,000 for Deborah Harris.
That's pretty impressive numbers, actually.
For a write-in, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So there's definitely going to be two that make the write-in process.
Yep.
Because they've made it over that initial threshold. I was concerned that, but I was pretty convinced that nobody was going to make it. Regina Salas, who's an incumbent, she's pretty far behind right now.
Yeah, she's down at 1427.
Yeah, so she's not even over that threshold yet. So
I'm just surprised that, even at this point, we don't even have all the votes in. And Kara House getting 3,400 people writing her name in Flagstaff. That's
my guess. Well, first of all, Kara House was supported by, I saw the chamber doing a flyer for her, but they also did.
That's usually the curse of death there. When
but then I wonder,
endorses you, that's usually the end of your life in Flagstaff.
That's true.
So the justice of the peace for Page, with
that's a big one.
64% of the vote, is a guy named Donald Roberts.
Okay,
who's deceased.
Are you serious?
It says here, in parentheses, deceased.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He's winning?
He's winning. He's got 64% of the vote.
It's one thing when dead people are voting, but when dead people are winning, so that's.
I really
makes you feel like you're in Chicago.
Yeah, or I really go back to sometimes if we could randomly just get people into office, pick them out of the phone book, we may have better results. Some of these people in D.C. especially. Yeah, the draft. I think we've called it the election draft. Okay, Mark, your turn. 2 years as governor. How much could you really screw this up more than these guys have?
Well, I remember one state handled it. I think it was either for senator or governor, but they handled it by just appointing the guy's wife.
Yeah, I've seen that before in like Congress and stuff.
Yeah, when somebody passes away.
Yeah, that's okay. So where were we at? The
state races, I think.
State races. I was supposed to look up. I got Bob threw a curve there for me on that one. It's
so
just
Kelly is still up on Masters by.
It's moved a little, 58 to 39.
Yep.
We've got congressional races. David Schweikert, Congressional District 1 is down significantly at this point, 56 to 43. Eli Crane's still up over Tom O'Halloran. I think Eli's going to win this race, but that's razor-thin margin. Incumbent Ruben Gallego, he is 80%. He won that race in the heavily Democrat district.
There was no way he was not going to. His ads were saying, should I be running for Senate? Everybody wants me to run for Senate.
These people just...
Come on.
I just wish that people would serve and get out of office at some point. But another one that's been there a long time is Greg Stanton. He'll win re-election against Kelly Cooper. I think I had Kelly on the program at one point. Andy Biggs, close race, 47 to 45.
Yep.
Andy's been a big friend of the show. During COVID, he was on every week. I mean, he still comes on at least once a month.
Yeah,
and it's not even his district. A lot of the listening.
He walks
area.
Off the floor and makes a phone call.
I've had him walk out of he's in Congress, and he walks out to make sure he makes that interview every single time. Let's see, Kirsten Engel.
I served with her.
You did. She was in the House.
I'd hate to see her elected.
Well, you will probably not get your wish.
Sorry to tell you, Bob, but
57 to Juan Ciscomani, who's I think worked for Ducey for a while, didn't he?
Who's that now?
Juan Ciscomani. Wasn't he in Ducey's administration at one
familiar,
point? Yeah, I think he was. I think I might have met him down there at some point. But 57 to 42, Raul Grajava, who's been there a while.
Forever.
Yes.
70% over Luis Pozzolo, the Republican. So I'm getting this sinking feeling that we're going to be in the same spot in the House makeup here in Arizona.
The thing is, Jeff, we're only showing about 25 seats going to the Republicans in the state house.
Okay.
Which it should end up being
Hopefully over 30.
Probably
better be
32
30.
maybe. So, and it's the same thing in the Senate side. We just don't have enough.
We don't have enough reporting. Yeah.
Because there's going to be a lot more Republican votes come in all over the state.
But at best, what do you think on the Congress side, the House side in Arizona? I mean, we could maintain the status quo. Maybe it'll flip to 5-4. As far as the amount of Democrats versus
at the federal
Republicans.
level?
Yeah. I mean, that's probably what you're looking at here.
Yeah.
Not huge shifts, but we'll have to wait and see. Still looking at 57% for Katie Hobbs versus Carrie Lake at 43%. So we'll keep an eye on that.
So we've got some national level projections here for the House and Senate.
Okay, give it to us.
Right now, CNN has got the Senate at 43 for the Republicans and 40 for the Democrats. They've got the House at 157 Republicans to 97 Democrats. So the Republicans are well on their way to.
Well on their way.
They got 5 pickups already on the Republican side for the House. So well on their way to.
What's the Senate
shellacking.
side? Did you say the Senate?
Senate is 43-40 right now. Republican.
Yeah. And that one we're going to have to wait on.
Yeah.
What's going on? Is Nevada still not reporting?
Let me get there.
no
that was a
results for
close-
Senate. No.
Because that was the one that with Laxalt that I think that could be a pickup in Nevada, but we'll see. You know, they're closing up by the time we're closing up, and I think you'll start getting the results here coming in at 9:00 for that. So we'll wait and see on that one. Walker, and that one's still super tight. Oz still down, but only down by about 2 points right now. So
that's closing significantly then.
yeah, that's getting tight. See what happens. Utah is just starting to report. Mike Lee, you would think, would be a shoo-in for that one, but there was a lot of discussion with this McMullen guy. Remember,
You would think he would have it.
You would think so. You would
I
think
think
so.
He's been really solid.
That Evan, I think he ran for president, didn't he?
Well,
McMullen was the independent guy, or he did run, didn't he, for president?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember voting for him, I think.
I don't know. Yeah, just running
20
again.
years.
It
It's
shows,
like,
it shows Lee at about 80% right now, but I'm sure it's early.
That's very early. That's 0.49% reporting.
Not too much.
not a lot. All right, you got about 5 minutes, guys.
J.D. Vance has got a good lead on Tim Ryan in Ohio with 86% in. So that will be a good one.
That would be a good one there. Yep. What do you guys think? I'll go around. What do you think we're looking at tomorrow morning? What do people wake up to as far as where we're at, where the country's at? If you had to make a guess right now on our way out, Olivia, you think about it too, Bob?
There seemed to be real expectation that the Republicans were going to do well, and so I'm hopeful at this.
You'll
point.
go to bed hopeful,
but like I
not lose
said,
sleep.
my 4 elections, I'd go to bed at night and unsure of the results the next morning, and
that happened to me with Carrie Lake last time, and I went to bed, but if she was only down by a few points, and then I woke up like 2, and I was like, let me check it, and I was like, oh. Which you should never do. You shouldn't wake up and check that stuff.
I'll probably be up till 2 tonight.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so if we have enough results in the morning, then it's just simply a matter of Russian collusion or fraudulent ballots.
On which side?
Well, that's what I mean. If the Republicans win, then it's definitely Russian collusion.
It has to be. And Trump.
Yep, and Trump. And if the Democrats win, then it's definitely fraudulent ballots.
Or those machines. Yeah.
Or the machines.
Or
yeah.
aliens. Aliens could still happen tonight.
the Chinese machines.
Yeah, Rob.
Well, as an independent that leans Republican, I'm still optimistic. I just looked at the Miami-Dade area and the results there, and that went solidly red, which is unusual for that area.
Yeah, Miami's not the hotbed of conservatism.
No, it's not,
Yeah.
and it's traditionally been a pretty strong blue stain on the state. So I'm optimistic.
Okay, good. Olivia, you optimistic?
I think so.
You think so?
I mean, I don't really know. For most of them, yes, but
We shall see. Okay.
We've all got
Well-
our pre-filled out guesses here, though.
Yeah, we've got our
Later this
predictions.
week, we're going to have
Yeah,
to score
we'll
these and
I've already failed on a couple of them, but I think it's hard to
turn
predict
them all
this
into
stuff.
Olivia for scoring here.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, I didn't write my name on my list. So, okay, we're about ready to wrap it up. I'm going to keep updating at talkwithjeff.com. So we'll keep that updated, and especially on your local races, because I mean this stuff could definitely change pretty quickly as more rural votes come in. We still don't know what's going on in Maricopa with those machines and how they're rectifying the 20%.
We
problem.
can't forget to thank the listeners for both listening in on the show as well as being involved in the election.
Yeah, I was going to say, everybody that voted today or voted in this election, congratulations for being at least partially responsible citizen.
Yeah.
You've got to be educated to be a good citizen.
Yep.
And you've got to be actively involved, whether it means being a poll volunteer or watcher or running for an office, something like that.
Or Jerry Neighbors actually being there overseeing the counting.
Yeah, and how late is Jerry going to be there? That's going to go on.
Well, he only has to be there as long as he wants to be there. It's not required that he be there. So.
Okay, but I'm sure he's going to be.
Yeah, imagine.
They're basically, ballots are starting to come in at 8, and if you're going to leave at 9, Jerry, if you're listening, you shouldn't do that because we want you to be there till at least 2.
It's those ballots that are coming in around 2 a.m. that they're
it's when everybody's sleepy and
that have been in a car from Fredonia for the last 3 hours.
So we all need to just text Jerry tonight. Are you still?
Are you still awake?
There.
Yeah. I sure hope Jerry took some of our
I've got
wonderful.
Jerry's cell phone number here. If anybody'd like to text him,
let's give out his number. I hope he took some cookies so he can stay awake while he's observing all of this.
It's going to be a long night there.
Yeah, I think. It's. I felt good when I heard from the Coconino County Elections Department. I think they're out there pushing pretty hard. I think when you get into these bigger cities, though, Maricopa, or you're looking at Pennsylvania, and you're dealing with Philadelphia, I think then that's when things can happen because you never know. It's such a big operation. So we'll keep watching, guys. I appreciate it. So that's a long haul. We went over a lot.
Yeah.
I think I've been on air for 5 hours. I'm getting a little delirious. Olivia, we'll be back tomorrow. Maybe we'll do some.
The tacos got us through. And the cookies.
Thank you to John, our engineer at the station, for keeping everything going. Excellent job. Brandon over at the station with a lot of promotions. Thank you, Bob.
And Angela.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Jerry Neighbors. Thank you, Angela, for updating the website and making a bunch of great food. Olivia, you too. I think you made the food too. Did you?
No.
Okay. Did you do something? You did something.
She ate some
I
food.
sat here.
Yeah, she sat here. So, all right, guys. Appreciate it. Drive safe getting home. Everybody, good job out there, and we'll see. We'll remain optimistic and see what the country looks like in the morning and through the evening. Try to get some sleep.
Gotta be.
I guess.
Thanks, Jeff. It's good to be here.
Jeff.
Mark's going to be up all night, and we'll be back
be up
tomorrow.
anyway.
I'll be back tomorrow at 4:06. Everybody have a great, safe night. We'll see you soon. Take care.